If you've ever been on a roller coaster watching your team draft, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back. We made it till the end of the week. It is Friday and it's almost mice down, drinks up time. But before that happens, we got one more session to go. We had Google report earnings. I'm sure we're going to talk about that here today. It is Friday, April 25th. We've got Mark Petrino today. No Anne Marie today, but Option Sandy afterwards. Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Friday, April 25th starts right now. Good morning, folks, and happy Friday. We did it. We are at the end of another crazy week, and we are going to need the rest because next week, earnings kick off in earnest. A lot of big tech earnings. We started with Google here today, and we're going to cover that. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here bright and early on a Friday. You know I like to see that effort. Crimp Biscuit, welcome back. Good morning. C.A. Forsman, welcome back. Yesterday, my account was in the green despite losing around 10K on the CEP short. Well, gosh, first of all, I'm sorry that you took a hit on that short. That thing was an absolute monster. Way to go staying green. What a battle, Chris. You know what? We're going to start off with a one-up. What a battle. Good morning, Chris. Welcome back. Sun Kissed Yogi. Great to see you. Welcome back. Paul, good morning. Let's get it. Welcome back. Brett, good morning. Pete, good morning. Pete, I cannot wait to hear what you think about Google. We're going to cover that here. I'm going to ask 13 about it when he gets on as well. I'll break down Google. Chuck, good morning. Kayla, good morning. Fairchild, good morning. Jonathan, good morning. Day Trader, Neville, Bernhard, Hellcat, Yassine, Artisan Custom Homes, good morning. Dermal, good morning. Cam, ciao, good morning, Cam. Rustam, good morning. Eric, good morning. Let's go. Bobby, STFU, Joseph, I think that's how you pronounce that, Joseph. Jeff, another thumbs down for Jeff. Jeff, I hope that you wake up on the right side of the bed one of these mornings, but good morning nonetheless. White Chocolate Mocha locked in. Yeah, so fine. Let's go. Happy Friday. Google was great yesterday. Incredible report. Got in Wednesday, out yesterday, looking to get back in after the market's next dump. Pete, you have been active and on top of this. You are using the volatility to your advantage. And as traders, that's what we're supposed to do. Well done. Florida Yacht Insurance Guy, good morning. Rooster, Ed, Jonathan, Captain Cloudy, BZ Films, Dan, D-Law. Let's go. Let's just go ahead. We got a great group here this morning. Let's launch into the charts. We're going to start here with SPY. Now, remember, one of the things that we've been looking at this week, I talked about this yesterday, we really wanted to start seeing closes above two key levels. We wanted to see closes above the 20-day moving average, which is currently pitched down and shows that we're in a downtrend, and we've been in there pretty much the entire year. We also have a downtrend line that we've drawn on here, and yesterday, we closed above both of them. So this actually gives us the first close above both of these levels that we really wanted to get. And here we go. So what does that mean for today? These levels are absolutely going to come into play again today. We are pretty much sitting on a back test of the trend line. Futures were actually a little bit higher here this morning. They've dipped a little on some of the earnings reports here. We have some good macro news. We have some back and forth news. We'll see how that shakes out here today. I'm sure we'll have some more volatility on that news, but nonetheless, this is affecting the market here this morning. So a couple of the levels, let's assign some numbers to some of these levels. Again, I'm just kind of estimating here, but let's call it 543.5. That's going to be your trend line, the downtrend line. And frankly, I expect a back test of this. A back test of this and a bounce would actually be extremely bullish if we end up getting that. That would result in a second close if we close today above that trend line and above the 20-day moving average. Now, that 20-day moving average is down here at 534.38. We would really have to sell off if we're going to get that today, but that's not out of the question. So let's not take that for granted. These are going to be your two downside levels I'm looking at. Also, worth mentioning the 550 number. We kind of stalled there in the pre-market and the after-hour session. We'll see what happens when the regular session is open for that. And then the other thing is we have the 10% pullback level. Remember, that's right at 552. So that's going to be your next upside level. 550 and 552 are going to be the ones that we're looking at for upside levels here on the SPY. Now, With that being said, let's cover some of the macro news. I don't want to drown you in that because I do want to get to some of the individual names that reported earnings so we can kind of make some assessments from that. Really quickly, let's take a look at the morning report, courtesy of Benzinga Pro right here. We are going to have the Michigan consumer sentiment number at 10. That's going to be our big economic print here today. We'll see what that does. You can see that the futures here are a little bit weak. Bitcoin holding higher by just under 1% here today. We do have some more IPOs here today. Now, none of these I don't think are going to be really big ones, but again, we've seen some of these smaller IPOs absolutely go bonkers. RAAQ, Real Asset Acquisition, DAAQ, we'll see if these end up moving. CHAC and PHOE. Those are going to be some of your IPOs here today. We have a couple of events, but those aren't coming here real soon. And I did not see anything outside of the CRM buy rating from Needham and the $400 price target. I didn't see anything in here that's particularly interesting. Maybe this Lowe's upgrade. Remember, Lowe's, that's kind of tied to a potential deal with China, or excuse me, a potential deal with Canada. I beg your pardon. I think that both Lowe's and Home Depot would represent good upside swings if we do get news on those deals. I know that that's going to be tough to predict, but that's some of the things that we're looking at. So that's pretty much it here for the morning report. Let's go ahead and dive into some of the news here. First one is going to be U.S. stock market futures mixed after a 3-day winning streak. Again here, S&P futures down 0.3% here in the morning. Dow futures down about 0.5%, and NASDAQ down about 0.4% here today. Let's see. I did want to go over a couple of stats here. I just want to kind of generalize what's going on here. First quarter earnings reported by Google's parent Alphabet. You know, it's so funny. How many years ago did they change their name from Google to Alphabet? I still call them Google. And you know what? I saw on CNBC this morning, Becky and another analyst said the same thing. So I think I'm in pretty good company there. I'm going to keep calling it Google. Y'all folks know what I mean. Also, HCA reported and Aon PLC reported, among several other corporate earnings that are set to be released on Friday. The 10-year Treasury yield stood at 4.3%. The 2-year Treasury yield was 3.8%. Let's see. Economic data was largely mixed. There's one quote in here. Here we go. Ryan Dietrich. Time to get some stats here with Ryan Dietrich. Market analyst Ryan Dietrich highlighted the fact that the S&P 500 has risen by at least 1.5% for 3 trading days in a row, saying that, quote, "This isn't stuff you see in a bear market rallies or short covering rallies," end quote. So right away here, Ryan's telling you that, hey, I know we're kind of in a bearish tape, but what we're seeing here is not traditional of bear market rallies. I'll let you folks decide if that's something that you want to listen to or not. Here's his stats, and if you want his tweet that has a bigger copy of all of these stats, let's go ahead and link that in the chat here for you folks. The S&P 500 is up at least 1.5%. This isn't stuff you see in bear market rallies. Higher 10 out of 10 times a year later, and up 21.6% on average. Now, the reason that I'm highlighting this stat is because there definitely seems to be a lot of back and forth on the macro headlines. What's going to happen? Nobody really knows what's going to happen with the tariffs, even if they say they know, including myself. We don't really know how this is going to play out, but these stats that he's sharing here are supportive of what the administration is saying. So we'll see if this ends up being how it plays out here. That was that. The other piece of news here that is affecting things here today, China reportedly begins exempting key U.S. imports from tariffs, including pharma and aerospace parts. I don't know if this article is going to mention it, but one other thing that came out, remember we heard yesterday that the Chinese have said they're not in any talks. There was apparently a Time magazine or Time interview that was shot on Tuesday where Trump said he has talked to Xi, so that back and forth seems to be going on. But what happened here? Companies in China say that they've been approached by officials to identify U.S. goods that are essential and difficult to replace. That report is according to Reuters. Some pharmaceutical imports and aerospace parts like engines and landing gear have reportedly already been excluded from the 125% tariff. American Chamber of Commerce, and China President Michael Hart confirmed that multiple member firms, especially in pharma, have not had to pay tariffs. The exemptions are being made as both Beijing and Washington demonstrate noticeable signs of de-escalation in a trade war that has upset markets and stressed global supply chains. Quote, as a quid per quo move, it could provide a potential way to de-escalate tensions. That was from Alfredo Montufar Helou. Really hope I pronounced that gentleman's name correctly. That was a tough one. And the Confidence Board's China Center. However, he said that neither side seems keen to make the first move to make a deal. China's Ministry of Commerce denied rumors of trade discussions with the U.S. on Thursday. Now, this is important because we've talked a lot about the dynamic with China. Even Trump kind of hinted at this, probably didn't do it as delicately as he should have or as people would have liked, but there's a lot to be said about, China saving face and looking good in these negotiations and the whole thing with it looking like Trump was folding and all of that. China's playing that up. And it sure seems like they're kind of using that. And now it seems maybe we have some concessions going on. Again, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but we'll see how this shakes out here. While China's leadership has not made any official statement about the exemptions, the move seems to be targeted at shielding domestic industries from even more pressure, with major sectors still reliant on American inputs, ranging from ethane to specialty drugs. The exemptions may just be the beginning. Quote, for irreplaceable goods, there's a clear interest in unilateral exemptions. So again, this is encouraging. We're certainly not out of the woods. And the big key to remind here, nothing is official yet. We'll see here if that changes. So let me know what you think. Let me know if this is good news, bad news, or if you're just kind of waiting it out because you've seen how this goes and you don't want to get burned. That makes a lot of sense to me too. Okay, next we're going to talk about Google. We're going to start with the chart. We're probably going to come back to the chart, and I would not be surprised if we actually cover this a lot. We might even ask Mark Petrino about this one. What do you think about that? By the way, here you go on Google. Now, the daily chart here shows something interesting. And again, it's a little janky. It's a little early, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it does kind of look like we might be setting up for a possible inverse head and shoulders here. We'll see. Google here up 3.7% here in the pre-market, and you could see that this move creates a gap that gaps us above the 50-day moving average, that value 166.30 on Google. So this is kind of what the chart looks like. It sure looks like it's trying to bottom and turn around here. If we're able to hold above this 50-day moving average, we have the 169.18 level that we drew on here. Remember, this goes all the way back to 2024. And was a very significant level, both resistance and support. You can see we actually had another inverse head and shoulders. Look how that one resolved. In fact, I wanted to measure this. I'm glad I remembered to do this. This actually, after the inverse head and shoulders, this traded up 25.5%. If we get the exact same performance, and I'm not saying that we're going to, but if we do, from right here, that 25% takes us almost back to those all-time highs. So we'll see if we get that on Google. Now let's break down the report here. Alphabet Q1 earnings highlight. Google search, YouTube, cloud show, quote, robust momentum. By the way, Russ, good morning. Angelica, good morning. Brandy, good morning. Jane, good morning. Bobcat, strategically optimistic. Ryan Milligan, reaching financial freedom. Rafat, Rustam, Neville, here we go. More and more folks joining here. That is absolutely awesome. Tech giant and magnificent 7-member Alphabet reported first quarter earnings after the market closed on Thursday. Here are some of the highlights. Now, remember, one of the things that I had said about Google yesterday is I do expect them to beat, but really what's going to determine what's going to happen next is how it trades. Now, it's encouraging to see it up 3.5+% here today. We really want that to hold. But if we take a look at what was actually in the report, as Pete said earlier, this was a really good report. Revenue was broken down as follows in the first quarter, with prior year's total in parentheses here. Google search, $50.7 billion. The prior total was $46.2 billion. So remember, 13 had said specifically yesterday, really wanted to see how ads were going to do. Well, Google search did really well. YouTube ads did really well, and total Google advertising, $66.9 billion versus $61.7 billion last year. So green on all of those prints that kind of affect that. Google Network here, $7.3 billion. Last year, it did $7.4 billion. That's the only one that was actually lower than the previous year. The company's Google subscriptions, platforms, and devices revenue was $10.4 billion compared to $8.7 billion last year. Let me know if you folks think that has anything to do with people moving more away from the iPhone to the Google Pixel ecosystem. I'm not sure that that's happening, but the numbers here are pretty good for Google. Adding those items together makes up Google Services, which had a revenue of $74.3 billion, up from $70.4 billion in the first quarter last year. Google Cloud revenue was $12.3 billion compared to $9.6 billion for in last year's first quarter, up 28% year over year. So again, really good report here. What did Sundar Pichai have to say about that? The company saw, quote, robust momentum, end quote, across its business lines, highlighting strength in Google Search, YouTube, and subscriptions on Google Cloud. Quote, we're pleased with our strong Q1 results, which reflect healthy growth and momentum across the business. Again, that came from Sundar Pichai. Pichai said the rollout of Gemini 2.5 AI models is helping with, quote, breakthroughs in performance, end quote, and will lead to future innovation. Underpinning this growth is our unique full stack approach to AI. The Alphabet CEO said Google Search saw strong growth. This was one of the keys we were looking for, which was boosted by an increased engagement from AI features. So now maybe AI is starting to help here. We're getting a little insight on that into this report. That's encouraging too. Alphabet announced a 5% increase to the dividend. That's great news, especially if we are going to stay in a bear tape. It's going to make Google that much easier to hold. And a quarterly payout going to 21 cents per share. The company also announced that the board of directors authorized a $70 billion share repurchase plan on April 23rd. You get the buyback, you get the div raise, you get the good quarter there. Google up 3.7%. So do we think that Google can actually continue to trade up? Do we think that this is a pop and maybe a drop? We're already seeing the market kind of roll over a little bit here in the pre-market. Obviously, a lot could change when the market actually opens here. But what do we think is next for Google? Who's interested in Google? Now that we have the binary event out of the way and before Google reports its next set of earnings, there could be trade deals in here. What do you think about Google? Is this something that should be owned? Pete here saying Google is becoming the IBM of the 21st century, behemoth that still prints money. Pete, all of that sounds bullish to me. Your entire comment there on Google sounds bullish. We've looked at IBM's performance. That thing's been a monster for a long time. Lion says, yes, Ryan, Google is worth owning here, especially after the print. Awesome, Lion. I'm curious to see how you trade that. Lion also goes on to say here, Google is a cash cow. Looks like you and Pete on the exact same page on that one, and the report seems to confirm exactly what you guys are saying. Rustam says, I don't think Google is going up anymore for now, but it should stay in the same area. So Rustam, it sounds like you don't think there's a whole lot of risk where with the price in the area that it's in now. Interesting. Maybe it won't fall here. We are holding above the 500-day moving average. Strategically optimistic, taking the other side of this. I'm close to closing my Gmail account. I can understand that, especially if you have other email accounts that let it get done. I will say, big thing for the Google account, I use Google Drive all of the time to share things with my friends, and it is a pain in the arse if you do not have a Gmail account. So make sure you factor that in. J Channel, good morning. It's great to see you. Graph, good morning. It's good to see you again as well. All right, so that's Google here. I have another report here on Google, but it actually has to do with Waymo. This is the other thing that I wanted to ask you folks. Do you think that Waymo is going to be net accretive here to Google? I know we talk a lot about Tesla's full self-driving. Waymo here has some pretty good numbers. Alphabet's Waymo announces 250,000 weekly paid rides across 4 U.S. cities. Sundar Pichai says personal ownership, quote, an option in the future. Remember, Tesla's talked about that too. Elon Musk, I think yesterday or maybe even the day before, tweeted that your Tesla car will make you money. Basically saying that, hey, if you get a Tesla car, it's going to be able to do all of this stuff for you. We'll see if that shakes out here. Anyway, Waymo announced it's reached 250,000 weekly paid subscribers. The company said it is providing fully autonomous paid rides in cities like Austin, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. And in a video shared on the social media platform X on Thursday, here is that video. I'm going to throw that in the chat for you in case you guys want to watch that. We don't need to watch that together. The announcement comes in as Alphabet held its Q1 2025 earnings call with investors. I'm excited about the progress the teams have made through a variety of partnerships. Now, I know Izzy's not here yet, but this is kind of what I wanted to get to and wanted to have a larger discussion around. Pichai hailed the company's partnership with Uber and shared that Waymo will offer paid rides via Uber in Atlanta later this year. So it sure sounds like this Waymo service is working, at least in the pilot cities that it's in. Sundar Pichai saying, hey, this is one of the reasons that this is working is because of Uber. We're looking to expand to Atlanta. We've talked a little bit about the Google angle here, but is this a boon for Uber? Remember, Uber eating Lyft's lunch by able to do other things, being international, being able to deliver food, et cetera, et cetera. Looks like they're trying to fold something else in here. How bullish is that for Uber? Do you guys like this news as it pertains to Uber? That's kind of where I'm going with this. Pichai also shared how Waymo could provide personal ownership of vehicles as well. Quote, there are future optionality around personal ownership as well. However, the CEO did not provide a timeline for it. He can probably get away with that with Elon giving timelines and then not holding to them. Wouldn't surprise me that he can be a little bit vague on that, and I think that that's probably okay. Alphabet's updates on Waymo drew comments from Deepwater Asset Management's Gene Munster, friend of Benzinga here, by the way. Munster shared a post in X on how Waymo was the, quote, most exciting thing, end quote, at Alphabet. The most exciting thing going on for Google is Waymo. Thank you, Mark Mahaney, for asking for direction on Waymo's go-to-market. We got a mixed answer. They're focused on making the best driver. Different business models can come from that, and they're pleased with what they were seeing. So ATL Russ here saying Waymo is all over Midtown Atlanta. Russ, what do you think about that? Do you or your buddies use that? Is there any advantage to it? Is it helpful? What do you think? Just your general thoughts here on that. Let me know what you think. Interestingly, Munster shared that Waymo would need to significantly reduce costs to compete with Tesla. This is the interesting part, and we'll see how this battle ends up shaking out. Quote, they have to get the cost of the vehicle from around $100,000 today to $30,000 to compete with Tesla. Now, I am pretty sure that part of this, the Waymo cars, at least the only Waymo cars that I've seen, and full disclosure, the only Waymo cars that I've seen have been in Phoenix when I've been there. The only Waymo cars that I've seen have been Jaguars. So I know Jaguars traditionally more expensive than Teslas here. Perhaps that's part of this price tag here. I would wonder if they're going to do that. I'm wondering if they're going to incorporate other cars into their fleet. Sorry, easy for me to say, to try and lower that cost. To me, that seems like low-hanging fruit, but with Waymo being all Jaguars, maybe they don't want to sacrifice that. Jaguars are extremely nice vehicles. They actually have a tariff issue, though. So, again, lots of moving levers on this one. Waymo's announcement follows the swift development of the autonomous ride-hailing ecosystem in the U.S., which the company currently leads by a healthy margin. Recently, Tesla announced it had rolled out its robotaxi services running via supervised full self-driving in a limited run for its employees in Austin as well as the San Francisco Bay Area. Tesla is all set on its full rollout of the robo-taxis in Austin, so there's going to be direct competition here with Waymo. In June, less than 2 months from now, according to Elon Musk's statement with the investors on Tuesday's earnings call. Elsewhere, the Trump administration has also announced the easing of regulations as well as exemptions to domestic autonomous vehicle manufacturers that could boost self-driving companies around the U.S. Positive for Tesla, negative for Jaguar. We'll see how this shakes out. Let me know what you think there. Russ here. I haven't, but I've spoken to a couple of people that have. I love it. It's very cool seeing it. Okay, sweet. So you haven't seen those cars getting stuck in busy intersections yet, I would assume. They've been here for at least a couple of years, I think. I have no concept of time. Russ, I feel that, man. Some days I don't even know what effing day it is. So I'm with you on that. That's good insight, though. Appreciate that. Okay. So that's Google. We'll see. It looks like Google and Tesla kind of heating up for this. We'll see which one ends up winning. Okay, let's go back to the charts. Another earnings report to have. What time is it? We got time before Mark here. We're going to cover Intel. Ticker INTC here, down 7.35% in the pre-market here. Intel shares trading lower after the company issued Q2 guidance below estimates. We're currently sitting at 1989. So although the stock is down 7.5% here, we're still holding this very, very robust support that Intel has been banging on for some time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tests of this area. 7 tests of this area here. This, to me, is going to be the most important thing here on Intel. the most important thing here. Can it hold this? If it can, perhaps it can consolidate, and then we can also look for some of those changes in trend and maybe some pops above the moving averages. We're actually currently sitting right down here beneath the 20-day after recapturing it and getting a close above. Crimp Biscuit here saying no tariffs on Jaguars that are built in the U.S. Jaguar, the reason I said that is because Jaguar recently said that they were halting shipments until there's more clarity on the tariff issues. So maybe there is a way around that, or partially, as some of those cars are assembled here. That's good. We'll see how that ends up shaking out. Okay. So here's the Intel chart. Let's see. We're going to go to Mark here in just a couple of minutes. Let me go through the actual news here. Intel Q1 earnings revenue beat, EPS beat, shares tumble on the weaker guidance, but let's dig into that a little bit here. Intel reported the first quarter revenue of $12.6 billion, beating analyst estimates of $12.3 billion. There you go. Total revenue growth in the first quarter was flat on a year-over-year basis. Here's a breakdown of that revenue. Client computing, $7.6 billion, down 8%. Data center and AI, up 8%. Intel total products, down 3%. Intel Foundry, up 7%. And all others, up 47%. So kind of a mixed report here, but some pretty good numbers. The guidance is really what sank it. Lip Bhutan, the new CEO there, said, quote, first quarter was a step in the right direction, but there are no quick fixes as we work to get back on a path to gaining market share and driving sustainable growth. Remember, this just really goes back to the analogy that we've used on Intel. We've been very clear about it since they talked about turning this around. This is akin to a large shipping tanker, not a small fishing boat. You're not going to be able to turn this thing around quickly. It's likely going to take some time, and it looks like Lip Bhutan here is emphasizing that. I am taking swift actions to drive better execution and operational efficiency while empowering our engineers to create great products. We are going back to the basics by listening to our customers and making the changes needed to build the new Intel. This, to me, tells me that they're absolutely going to have some type of AI ramp. Will it be successful? That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. Intel said on Thursday it planned to cut 2025 operating expenses to $17 billion. The company also forecasted 2026 operating expenses of $16 billion. Intel expects second quarter revenue to be in the range of $11.2 billion to $12.4 billion versus the estimate of the $12.84 billion. That's the guide that missed, and that's why we're trading down. Brett Green says, 13, where are you? You're singing that to the Car 54 theme, aren't you? You're showing your age a little bit, Brett. That's okay, though. I remember that show, too. Don't worry about it. All right, folks, it's Friday. It's almost the end of the day. It's time for feeling good and all of that, and we're going to kickstart that by talking to our good friend, Mark Petrino. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Mark, happy Friday, my man. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good. It is Friday. We are almost at the end of the week, and I have tea times lined up for today and tomorrow. And we had the NFL draft yesterday, so I'm about as pumped up as it gets for being 7:30 in the morning here on a Friday.
Well, I hate golf now, so I have a love-hate relationship with golf. And last Tuesday I loved it, and last night I hated it. So
Okay, well, tomorrow's a new day.
I hope I never play again.
Mark, I did not have that on my bingo card either here today.
Man.
Say again?
On Tuesday, I went to the range. And I was like Ben Hogan. I have a 1-iron that I bought on eBay a couple years ago, and I just use it to practice because it's a really, really, really hard club to hit. I was even hitting it well on Tuesday. Last night, I get to the range, and it's like, man, I could barely get the thing off the tee. So anyway,
yeah, that's how it goes, man. Golf is a finicky sport. I'm confident in you. I think you'll rebound as early as tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll probably love it again by the end of the weekend.
There you go. That's what I wanted to hear. Good stuff. Okay, Mark, what do you got for us here today? Any lessons that you want to go into? Any stocks that you want to look at? Looks like the chat's already got some here. So where do you want to start, boss?
Well, I want to point out that I think that we've probably found the bottom, and I'm seeing a lot of action that looks pretty good out there. And one of the things that I've really kind of been focusing on over the last couple of weeks is the financial sector. And, we got this really, really clear. Oh, wait, I guess I should share my screen so you can see it.
I'll go ahead and throw yours on here.
All right. Why do I not see the ability to share? Okay, there we go.
I was going to say, man, I hope you find it because I don't know. It should be there.
Yeah, I think it should be on there now.
Yeah, Lion, we will take a look at the trade desk. No problem. All right, here's Mark's charts. Mark, what do you got for us here?
All right. So one of the reasons why I've really just been focusing on the financial sector, everyone pays a lot of attention to technology. And of course that makes sense. Technology is the biggest sector. It's about
Sure.
30% of the market. But sometimes you can get signals coming from other places. And one of the things I just want to point out is how clear this level has been in the financial sector ETF up here around 4730. So this is an ETF, XLF. This tracks the financial sector of the market. It's called a spider. That's Standard and Poor's Depository Receipt. Just like we look at the the spider. Well, this is the ETF. This is the sector spider. All right. So anyway, we got back here and we got resistance, and then it became support, and then it became support, and then it became resistance. So this was a really, really important price level. Resistance can become support because there's people who sold down here, or I should say here, that regret doing so when the price goes higher, and they're like, if it gets back to my level, I'm going to buy my shares back. So seller's remorse can make what was resistance turn into support. Seller's remorse can also make what was support stay intact. There are people who sold here who regret doing so when the price goes higher. And they're like, if it gets back to my price, I'm going to buy my shares back. Same thing happened here. Now we have the opposite, buyer's remorse. People buy here, and when the price goes lower, they say, I made a mistake. If it gets back to my price, I'm going to sell my shares and get out of break even. So the level that was support turned into resistance. But now it looks like this resistance has been broken. The level that was resistance is converting into support again. And that's typically what happens before we make another move higher. Also, I just want to point out the magnitude of some of these moves. I mean, the financial sector here is, 12% off of its low. So we're talking, a 6 months return in what would be like an average year or a good year in just a matter of weeks. And then we can also see how the reason why the financials found support around where they did here is because, again, it was an important price level. So, yeah, I mean, it looks to me like things are kind of firming up here. And we look at the S&P. It really, history like repeats itself, right? And it's just like, when people start saying like this time it's different or, this is unprecedented, like they were saying, a couple weeks ago about all the tariffs and everything, markets go down too. And it's like historically there would be a bubble like every 20 years or 25 years because the thought process was, all right, well, we need to wait for one generation to die off. So the next generation can say, oh, this time it's different. And then we get a bubble. And then Alan Greenspan came along in the 90s, and now we get a bubble every like 5 years because they messed around with the interest rates too much. But anyway, if we look at the S&P, right, this is back up to what was a bottom back here and a bottom back here. So just like we saw in the financials, support became resistance. Now we're testing this resistance. And let's see what this is off of the lows. So the S&P is about 12% off of its lows. So, this could be a little bit of what we call the old ascending triangle formation, which tends to be bullish. And what this shows here is, people look at these chart patterns, and I think a lot of people just try to say like, oh, this looks like that pattern or this looks like that pattern, but they don't really understand what it is that the pattern shows, which is why so few people really can understand chart reading and technical analysis. Now, let's just think about this. We got this resistance level up here around 545, 46. Sellers, have kind of held their ground there. Each time we got up, the sellers made a stand and the stock got moved backwards or whatever. But at the same time, the buyers are getting more aggressive. That's why this bottom here formed at a higher level than this bottom here. Buyers are willing to come into the market at higher prices. So the ascending triangle pattern is really just a graphical illustration of sellers who are patient or complacent and buyers who are becoming more aggressive. So if you think about that, regardless of what market it is, if you have aggressive buyers and complacent sellers, it sets the stage for a move higher. So I don't know if we're going to get there today, but I assume my expectation is that this resistance will break and we're going to have another leg up. And yeah, I mean, the names change, the people change, the companies change, but Wall Street doesn't change. And that's because markets are driven by psychology, and human psychology has not changed. I mean, we look at charts of the S&P from 150 years ago.
Yeah.
You can see the same patterns that we see now. So I hope I'm right, and we will see.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me steel man you here for a little bit, because I completely understand why you're saying it feels like the bottom is in. You're actually not the only person saying that either here. That chart breakdown was real good. Mark, earlier I had shared a quote here from Ryan Dietrich. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
Okay, so one of the things that he said, one of the stats he had here for today was this S&P 500 is up at least 1.5% for 3 days in a row. This isn't stuff you see in bear market rallies or short covering rallies. And when this is the case, we are higher 10 out of 10 times a year later with an average of 21.6% to the upside. So
Yeah, I
that
didn't
came
see
out,
that, but Ryan's
and Mark,
right
there
to
was another
invest.
one. There was another analyst on CNBC this morning that said, I think that the worst of the entire tariff thing is behind us. And so if those two, I don't know if these are true. I can't predict the future, but if those things are true, it sure seems like maybe the bottom is in here. We've got a chart to kind of support that. I love it.
Yeah, and what people need to understand about the markets is they're driven by supply and demand. So I don't know if these tariffs are going to be a good thing in the long
Mhm.
run, if they're going to be a bad thing. I mean, my sense is they'll probably be a good thing. Um, with my limited knowledge, because every time you hear something, it's different.
That's
But
right.
but here's the thing: when people want to sell, when the market gets very bearish, people sell, and when everyone who wants to sell is done selling, the market runs out of sellers. And at that point, it can only go up, regardless of what the news is. So this is why, I mean, Warren Buffett gets credit for it, but I think people have been saying this since the beginning of trading is like, buy when people are panicking, sell when people are euphoric. When people are panicking, they sell their shares. If the market runs out of sellers, it can only go up. When people are euphoric, they buy. When the market runs out of buyers, the only way it can go is down. So that, it sounds like kind of a whimsical, like Wall Street saying, but it's based on reality and psychology. So, I mean, we shall see. And the other thing to remember too is that everyone was so focused on the tech stocks. There are other sectors that were doing well. I mean, consumer staples was doing pretty well. Utilities were holding up. When money come, and a lot of times in the institutional world, right, in the hedge fund world or the mutual fund world or the institutional money management world, you have a contract with the person that or the people that you're managing money for, or more rightly, the institution you're managing money for. Wall Street is run by pension plans. Okay, it's not run by hedge funds. Pension plans need money to be managed for them, and there's some of them are absolutely enormous, like the California State Employees Pension.
Mhm.
I think could be the biggest one, but it's trillions of dollars. And the pension plan manager might say, I want someone to manage equities for me. So they go through their database and they say, all right, we're going to go find a hedge fund to manage money for us. And they have to be around for this long and they have to have performance that's this good and so forth and so on. And they find someone and, they go and they visit them. And it's like, okay, we want you guys to manage equity money for us. Here's $1 billion of our money. Now you got to be in equities. You can't go to cash. We have other people that we're hiring to manage our cash. So you can't have more than 5% cash in your account. So now if you're that hedge fund and you're selling stuff because you think you perceive it as being very risky, like the tech stocks, that money's got to go somewhere, right? They can't just go to cash a lot of times. So they have to go buy stuff that they perceive as being less risky, which is why gold is making new highs.
Mhm.
So the point is, it's a long-winded point, but the point is there's always a bull market somewhere. And one of the biggest problems I think most people have, especially newer people, is they just get too focused on the media and the hype. And I always tell people, the charts don't lie and the charts are never wrong. So let's just kind of see what the market's doing and yeah, and that's it. So here we are. It looks like things are really shaping up. So this week, I'll just look at some of my stock of the day here. Let's see.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, you know what? I've talked a lot about Palantir. Palantir was actually yesterday. And I mean,
Palantir has been incredible. I'm glad you're picking this one. Palantir has let's see. I had a stat here on Palantir. Palantir up 60% from the recent low 3 weeks ago. So I'm glad you're choosing this one. What do you see on this?
and it looks to me like we're going to there's a chance we're going to keep going here. Yeah, look at that. Wow, up 60. You kind of lose perception sometimes, but wow, that's up 60% in 3 weeks. I mean, that's like, a great year's return. It's a phenomenal year's return. But anyway, again, right, just like we saw in the
And real quick,
ETFs.
let me just jump in here real quick, because one of the things that I've been saying consistently on this show is that I've been waiting for a pullback to 60 on Palantir, and we never really got it. So for all of you that were kind of waiting out that price level with me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We weren't able to get you in for this run, but this is the type of thing that I was hoping if it came into that price level. So just as an aside, a little bit of a mea culpa here, Mark, because I was saying I think that this is going to come in a little bit, and it hasn't. So.
Well, that's okay, man. It's trading is not about being precise. It's about making money, and
Right.
ultimately, that's what we want to do, right? It's like going back to golf, right? It's like you're not going to birdie every hole, and if you're me, you're probably going to go months without birdieing a hole. But
I feel that, my man. I just had one last Friday, so I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Sweet, man. All right, so just a couple of things here. What we saw in the ETFs is, the sell-off didn't end down around here just by random coincidence. The sell-off ended here because it was a bottom back here. And people that bought or people that sold back here watched for months and months and months. And when it finally got back to their level, they're like, all right, I'm going to buy my shares back. So I just wanted to point that out. But now this is what we would call a breakout. Or, I mean, it looks to me like a breakout. And trading breakouts is a common, it's a pretty common style. And we can see here, we rallied up to here and we got resistance, right? So a lot of times when you get to resistance, you sell off. And this is because some of the people that want to sell, they start to worry they're going to miss out. They know that the buyers are going to go to whoever is willing to sell at the lowest price. So someone might be at like 97 and they might say, you know what? I'm going to go down to 96 and a half because I want the sellers to come to me. I'll trade a half a point in exchange for getting my trade executed. Someone else is like, oh, that person's there. I'm going to go down to 96.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a snowball effect and you sell off. And the same thing happened here. Now, why do we get resistance here? Well, there are people that bought at the peak here that regretted doing so when the price went lower. And a lot of them say, if it gets back to my level, I'm going to get out at break even. So buyer's remorse, just like we saw, it can turn support into resistance. It could also keep resistance intact. Now we got above this, and traders would say that this is a breakout. And it's really not just a symbolic term. It could tell us that the people that created the resistance with their sell orders, whether they're investors or traders, are out of the way. Maybe they cancel their orders.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they finish their orders. But regardless, they're out of the market. And when you take a lot of supply or sell orders out of a market, the demand side or the people that want to buy have to sometimes start jacking the price up to draw the sellers back in if they want to get executed. I mean, they might come in when the market's at 103 and say, hey, I'll buy all the shares you want to sell me at 103. And someone might say, well, I'll sell it to you, but it's going to be at 104. There's no other sellers around. I'm the lowest price in town. So take it or leave it. So now the next obvious thing would be like, all right, if this is breaking out and we talked about how the market is firming up, and if the S&P can take out that level, this is going to continue to move higher. And so the next answer, or I guess question I should say, is where would I consider selling? And just like there was resistance at a former peak down here, there's a good chance if we get up to this former peak around 124, there's going to be resistance there again. So from a trading point of view, you could say, all right, I'm buying the breakout. This is my selling target. And then we just think about our stop loss order and our trailing stop order. And, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of retail traders. I have a lot of students, and so many people have gotten really, really hurt over the past couple months. And a big part of it is because they just didn't think about having stop out strategies. And a stop out strategy basically means like, all right, let's just say, for example, you bought this, just to make the math easy, at 100. Now it's at 108. So you're up 7 points. You could say, all right, I'm up 8 points or whatever. I bought it at 100. Now it's at 108. I'm up 8 points. If it reverses and gets to 105, I'm going to sell it. And I have a 5-point profit. Let's just say it gets up to 115. You could say, all right, if reverses by 5 points and gets to 10, I'm going to sell it. Now, let's say it gets to 120. You can say, all right, if it reverses by 5 points, I'm going to sell it. So you move your trailing stop up along with it. And the idea is that if you have a profit and you have a trailing stop, you're not going to sell it at the exact top. But if it does reverse, you're going to keep some of your profit on the table. So people generally use trailing stops by percentages. If it reverses by X percent, I'm going to sell. Sometimes people use points. Sometimes people use like a trend line. All right, I'm going to stay in Palantir as long as it's above this trend line. If it breaks the trend, I'm out. And yeah, so when you get into a trade, you need to know how you're going to get out. You should have an exit strategy. You should think about where will I get out of this for a profit? Where will my initial stop out be for a loss? What kind of trailing stop am I going to use? And remember, to the people that are listening, it's like, it's not about being precise. It's not about making money. And I know that sounds kind of weird. It's about developing a system or a strategy that works for you, that makes money, and then deploying the strategy and sticking to your rules. If you stick to your rules and lose money, that's fine, because no system is perfect. It's if you lose money because you guessed, or you overtraded, or you traded because you were bored, well, that's not fine. And that's the path to failure right there.
Okay, real good stuff here. This has been a great discussion. There are a couple of comments that I want to highlight here. Pete here saying Palantir would be much better at 60. The valuation is dumb right now. This is hitting the head on the nail. This is why one of the reasons I was waiting for such a lower level here. Also seems like I said, I don't know. My big thing here, one of the things I really want to do is I want to help put people in positions to really kind of capture some of these moves. And I feel like I missed the boat on this. Big B is going to say, always wait for your price. Otherwise, you will always overpay. And then MD, I think this is what I like the most here. What about selling puts at the 60 level, collect the premium, and then wait out your level? This is a really good idea, MD, and I think that you're right here. We should do this here. The next downturn, maybe we should start looking at those put premiums. This is a really quality idea. Really good discussion here on Palantir.
Yeah. And two of the other stocks I wrote about also look like they were breaking out. Dollar General. So
This has been a show favorite here. We've been trading this one.
Okay, so all right, so this is an important thing to look at here, because this has had a little bit of a reversal. Let's see here. So I would say we were looking right around there for the breakout. Right up around there. Now, this is important to watch here. When markets are going higher, price levels that had been resistance can turn into support. And that is a function of seller's remorse. Remember, people sell, and when the price goes lower, at first they're like, oh, this is easy. But when the price goes higher, a lot of them say, I made a mistake. If it gets back to my price and I can, I'm going to buy my shares back. So if you have enough of these remorseful sellers placing sell orders, what was resistance can turn into support. And that sets the stage for a move higher. Now, a lot of times when you get to a resistance level and you break out, you make a quick move higher. That's because what we talked about before, when you get above the resistance, it shows that the sellers are out of the market. So the buyers have to get really aggressive. But a lot of times when you get a breakout, you get a big move higher, and then you get a reversal and what we would call like a retest. Now, if this level that was resistance can turn into support, that could set the stage for another move higher. So this is what we see when markets are going up. And not surprisingly, Dollar Tree, broke out, and it's coming back a little bit. But this is healthy action. I mean, this is a 10-point move. Well, maybe an 8-point move from here to here. So coming back a little, and you know what? Let's go back to the financial spider, and I just want to show you. I know we talked about this before, but you get action like this, right? The level that was resistance turns into support, and that sets the stage for the next move higher. The level that was resistance turns into support, and it sets the stage for the next move higher. So that's what we got to watch for Dollar Tree and Dollar General. If these current levels hold for the next day or two, there's a good chance they're going to start to work their way higher.
Okay. Awesome stuff there. Pete here saying Dollar Tree and Dollar General depend heavily on Chinese items. Remember, Dollar General actually has much less of a dependence than Dollar Tree. They both do, but Dollar General is much less. We saw that in the last run up. Mark, I got a couple of stocks that folks want to take a look at here. You ready for them?
Yeah.
First one here is going to be Uber, and the next one's going to be Trade Desk. Now, I know we talked about Trade Desk a little bit ago, but let's start here with Uber because I don't think we've touched on this one recently.
No, we haven't. All right. Well, I mean, the first thing I see with Uber is we got the clear level there, and where are we trading in the pre-market? It looks like we're pretty much unchanged. Now, this is a potential breakout play as well here as well, right? Because we got above the resistance, and if we hold, then it's going to tell us the people that created the resistance back here and back here are out of the way. And again, just like we saw with Palantir, we get resistance at a former resistance level. Now, regardless of the stock or whether it's a crypto or a commodity, okay, when we look at a chart, if we're doing it the right way, we're looking at a graphical illustration of the psychology of the people that are doing the trading. So it doesn't matter what you trade, people experience the same emotions. And this is what we see on charts. You know, a lot of people sometimes say to me, like, well, you can't really compare Apple to Palantir because they're very different businesses, or you can't really compare Microsoft to Nvidia. Well, you know what? Maybe in the fundamental world, people think like that. But in the trading world, if you're someone who's like, you know what, I'm going to place a bet here on tech. I think tech's going to go rally. They're buying tech across the board. They're not, in a lot of cases, in a lot of strategies, they're not saying, well, this has a better business model than this. In the short-term trading world, right? I mean, we have retail day traders. We don't really have too many institutional day traders, but we have a segment of the institutional market, which is usually in the hedge funds, is what we call proprietary trading or prop trading.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what happens is if someone's got a good track record, they'll go to a hedge fund and the hedge fund will say, okay, here's some of our money for you to manage. And you keep X% of however much you make. Like when I was at SAC years ago, that was the thing. Steve would give people capital and they keep 30% of whatever they make, right? And then obviously the firm keeps the rest of it. But these are people that out there might be under the mindset, all right, the technology sector, for example, is breaking out. So let's go figure out what stocks within the tech sector might move the highest. And they're not really thinking about what's the business model, what are the earnings. It's seeing that there is a imbalance or a market is out of equilibrium, right? If a market is out of equilibrium, there's a really good chance that it moves. If it's in equilibrium, meaning if there's the same amount of supply as there is demand or the same amount of shares for sale as there are to be bought, it's probably not going to move. So I will use my oft-cited analogy of the the medieval market where you have a little town and people come from all over to sell their goods and buy goods, and there's one road in to this little market. And someone happens to notice, oh, gee, this morning there's only one bushload or one wagon of pumpkins coming into the market. Typically, there's 10 wagons of pumpkins on an average day. Therefore, there's probably going to be a shortage of pumpkins. And when people come to buy, the price will go up. So that person goes into town and they buy up all the pumpkins ahead of everyone. And then when the customers get to town, the price goes up and they turn around and sell it to them. So it has nothing to do with pumpkins or how pumpkins are grown or what have you. It has to do with the fact that the market was out of equilibrium. And if there's a shortage of supply or there's more demand than supply, it's going to go up. And this is what as day traders or as prop traders, we want to do is identify imbalances in supply and demand and figure out which way the market is going to go based on that. A lot of people really overthink this stuff, but markets are supply and demand. I mean,
Yep.
you know, they go up if there's not enough sellers. They go down if there's not enough buyers. It's pretty simple. And it's most of the time, like 95% of the time, markets are not moving because of what people are talking about in the news, like at CNBC or what have you. Most of the time, markets are moving like that. You know, like why did we sell off there? Well, if you were to put on the news, it's like, oh, Uber is trading down on concerns over this. Uber's trading down on concerns over that. Well, as a trader, I would say, to me, Uber is trading down because we got to a resistance level, and now you have people undercutting each other. They're not really looking at the news. They're just thinking like, gee, I want to get my orders sold here. I'm starting to get nervous. I'm at 81.10. I better drop down to 79.90. See if I could draw some buyers in. So as traders, it's the name of the game is psychology. Psychology is what moves markets, and ironically enough, psychology is why people are not successful. There's basically three stages of a trader. The first one is They want someone to tell them what to do. They think they're going to find some mythical guru that's always going to give them good information. And of course, they end up losing money. And then the next stage is, all right, I'm going to develop some secret system that's always going to be right. And they lose money. And at that point, most people quit. The people that get to the third stage, which is where the money is made, is people that understand the psychology. Something simple is, why am I making this trade? I was speaking to one of my students, and she was telling me how she lost a pretty significant chunk of money on a trade last week. And I'm like, well, why did you make the trade? And she was just like, I don't know. I mean, that's guessing. That's trading out of boredom.
Yep.
I mean, I know it sounds really simple, but if you can't explain why you're making a trade to like me or Ryan or anyone, it's like you shouldn't do it. You're guessing.
Totally get it. Follow-up question here on Uber. Do you like Uber at this level, or do you think that this is time to wait? I'm guessing based on your answer here, the trade trigger, we talked a little bit about setups and triggers last week, Mark. Trade trigger here was a break above that 77 level, and your first price target there is 81.82 or about 82.
Yeah, so here's how I would approach this. And this is not a recommendation, but I'm just saying this would be a potential way to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see it's trading at like say 78 in the pre-market, and this resistance was at 77. So let's just say, all right, if I'm going to buy it now, I'm going to buy it at 78. If it gets to 76, that's my initial stop out. So that's 2 points down. 78, if I go up here and I get to about 81, I'm going to sell it. Now I would start thinking to myself, is this a decent risk to reward ratio? Could potentially lose $2, but could potentially make, $3.50. Now, someone would have to say to themselves, is that, someone who's more risk adverse may not want to take a trade like that. But someone who doesn't mind taking some risk may want to. A lot of times people are going to look at something and say, oh, I'm not going to do it unless it's a potential 3-to-1 risk reward ratio or 5-to-1. But just for educational purposes, buy it here, sell it if we break the resistance. So that's my initial exit strategy for a loss if it looks like the position or the trade's not going to work out. My target for a win, we talked about, is the former resistance level. And then if it starts to move ahead, say we buy it at 78 and it gets to 79, then we have to start thinking about our trailing stop. So we buy it at 78, it gets to 79. You could say, you know what, if it reverses by 50 cents to 78.50, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to just walk away with 50 cents. Mm-hmm. If it gets up to 80 and it reverses to 79.5, that's where I'm going to get out. So think about what we're talking about. We have a reason for getting into the trade. It's a breakout, potentially. We have an initial thought process or a thought for our initial stop out if it doesn't look like it's going to go our way. We have our target for a profit if it does go our way. And then we have a trailing stop if it starts to move in our direction and we start to make money. So you shouldn't get into a trade if you do not know how you are going to get out of it. It's easy to talk about, but selling is a lot harder than buying. Buying, it's like, oh, you just bought a stock and you got hope. And it's like you got a new friend or, and it's like, it's exciting. But when you're selling, you're either going to be selling at a loss or at a profit. I mean, maybe break even, but if you're selling at a loss or you're selling at a profit, that kind of like messes with your head and it messes with your emotions. So selling is harder. And I mean, there's been all kinds of studies on that. If people just buy a random portfolio of stocks, or you take the S&P 500 and you buy half of it and you short half of it without any other thought besides that, and you have proper risk management. If it goes up by 4%, or if I get a 4% profit, I'm going to take it. If I'm out by if I lose 1%, I'm out. A lot of quantitative models, that's what they do. And for a quantitative model, it's easy because they don't have emotions. But it just goes to show you, regardless of the security, if you have the proper risk management techniques, you can profit without even knowing what the stock is.
That's really good stuff there. Tori saying, I made a very bad trade yesterday. I really needed to hear this. Thank you both. Tori, you're more than welcome. Don't ever forget, anyone that is a trader, I don't care how good they are or how much money they are, they're going to make bad trades. How you get over that, how you come back from that is going to be really important. We're happy to help you any way that we can.
Yeah, it's important to remember, losing money is part of trading.
Yeah.
But if we can keep our losses small and not have big losses, then that's where the success comes from.
Okay, Mark, one more. Let's do one more stock here before we let you go for the weekend so you can fall in love with golf again. How about the Trade Desk, ticker TTD?
Oh man, it's a well, anyone who plays golf knows what I'm going.
That's why I'm smiling, because I know exactly what's going on. I went through this phase twice last year.
All right, so the Trade Desk. Now,
the last time we talked about it, we talked about that trend line breaking. It looks like it tried to do it and go lower. So what do you think here?
Well, let's see. So we got yeah, I mean, so we talked about, all right, now let's talk about this, because I know we had talked about this as a potential buy for various reasons. It was really oversold.
Yep.
It got to a level that had been support before. Now, we talked about, though, the difference between a setup and a trigger, right? The setup is the fact that this stock was really oversold.
Right.
And it got down to this support level here around 61.5. Now, here's the thing. The trade never got triggered up there. The setup is, okay, it's down big, it's oversold, it's at support, a lot of volume traded. What's the trigger? And I believe we talked about the trigger would be the break of this trend line. So we got to the level and it fell through it. So we were wrong about where there was going to be support, but the trade never got triggered up here. The reversal never started. When we crossed the trend line and the trade finally got triggered here, we had a nice profit in here, like a 12% profit from here to there. Now, the level that was support became resistance. So this would have been a good trade here, because that would have been my target to get out. But I think what I'm trying to emphasize is that if sometimes things look like they're going to reverse, but they don't. And if you wait for the reversal to start, then things will be much more in your favor, in my opinion. You might, you're not going to get the very bottom price. Like, instead of buying it at 53, you might have bought it at 56, but that's okay. You still had a profit here. Now, to me, I don't think I would be in this now, but notice where we're trading. The level that was support became resistance, and we look like we're about to break above this resistance. So it could be just like Palantir that we talked about. You trade the breakout, right? Once we get above this level, we can more confidently say to ourselves, the people that created the resistance are out of the way. So if buyers come in, they're going to have to really jack up the price. And, my target, probably not surprisingly, would be this former resistance level for a trading target. So I think if we break above there, there's a good chance we get there. Our initial, well, let's just say we buy it at 55, right? Then the initial stop out would be if we reverse back below this level that was resistance. That's your target for a profit. And then if we start to move ahead, we put in the trailing stop, whether it's a percentage or points. There's no right way to do it. People should do some kind of a trailing stop strategy, though.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, on that move up that you were talking about, the trailing stop lesson that you started here today with is very applicable, and it looks like this might be setting up again. Lion here saying, I'm waiting for the trade desk to go over 60 to take a long position. So it looks like you have a little bit more of I would call that a conservative target. You really want this to confirm the bottom. It sounds like you're doing a lot of what Mark is talking about here. 62 also the level to watch. That's what Mark has marked off on the chart.
Yeah, okay. Right around 62.30.
Mark, great stuff yet again, getting it done here on a Friday. In fact, you did such a good job that you can take next Friday off. The reason I'm saying that, all jokes aside, the reason I'm saying that, I am actually on vacation next Friday, folks. We will still have a show, but Mark, you'll have the day off. There also won't be Anne Marie next Friday. So thanks very much. We'll have you back on the following week. All right.
Okay. And will I see you on Tuesday?
I don't think so. I don't think this Tuesday, but we'll talk about that.
Okay, cool.
All right, Mark. That is Mark Petrino, everybody. Thank you very much, Mark. We'll see you next time.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Mark's departure leaves room for 13. Let's go ahead and bring him on, see how he's doing. 13, happy Friday. We made it. I'm going to start off by saying I hope that you had a good draft night last night. I will say I love that kid Golden from Texas, and I am extremely pissed off because I know he's going to be scoring tutties against the Bears this year. How happy are you with your Packers last night?
Honestly, I didn't pay attention to that. I'm just going to take it all in stride and do some research on what happened. I had other things I had to do yesterday, unfortunately.
Okay, fair enough there. Just know that your team made a pick where I was like, oh, no, that's going to hurt my team. So that's all you really needed to know from that. Where do you want to start here today? You want to crush these movers?
Yeah, we can. Just wanted to point out one thing at the end there with Trade Desk, that $62
Sure.
level. Put a line. I think it's going to be worth it for everybody just to put a $62 line right there. You can see it from a longer time frame. That was, I think Mark was just talking about how these previous resistance levels or support levels can turn into resistance if we start trading beneath them. So this is, I think 62 is one of those such levels that was once support became resistance. Now we're also still testing it as resistance. We need to recapture that before I think we start seeing some better moves to the upside for Trade Desk. That's the level I'm watching for.
Here you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Lion.
Zoom even further out. Sorry to interrupt. Zoom even further out.
No, you're fine. Oh, yeah. Look at this. This goes all the way. You're absolutely right on that. So, Lion, first of all, one of the things that I will say here is that I appreciate that you brought Trade Desk up, but it doesn't really seem like you needed that analysis because it seems like you already had the same analysis. Really good stuff. We'll go with a 1-up on that. Okay.
Here's a point. Here's a point to that though. If he's thinking that's what he's, it could be the case, and then you start seeing other folks that are seeing the same thing, it just lends to the strength to his thesis that he could be correct on that. So you got Mark saying that $62 level. I think he said 62.30. That's what he's looking at. I'm watching 62. Lion's watching 60 to 62. I think we're all in agreement. That's the level to be watching for. Keep your eye on it.
And we've got the 50-day at 59.5. So it's all pretty much right in the same area. Okay, really good stuff there. 13. I think before we go to the movers here, we do have 24 minutes, so we should have plenty of time. Before we go to the movers, I did want to really quickly touch on Google. Now, I covered this report. It was one of the leading things that I did here this morning, but you and I talked about Google yesterday, and you had said specifically that one of the things that you wanted to look into here was going to be the ad revenue, right? That was one of the big things that you were paying attention to. So I'm going to set the stage here for you. I do want to get your opinion here. So first of all, Google beat. And what I had said yesterday is I was pretty sure Google was going to beat the number, the top and bottom line number. That's exactly what it said. But I left a little vagueness there because I wasn't sure how it was going to trade. And I thought how it trades was going to determine what the next move is. We're actually seeing Google up here a little bit in the pre-market. Now, as far as those revenue items, revenue was broken down as follows in the first quarter. Google search, $50.7 billion. That's up from $46.2 last year. YouTube ads, $8.9 billion. That's up from $8.1 billion last year. And total Google advertising, $66.9 billion. That's up from $61.7 billion last year. So what do you think here on Google? Given those numbers, what does this report mean to you?
Well, those are the numbers from the quarter we just had, right? So I was looking to see if they were going to say anything about going forward, because we knew that these numbers were going to be great. I mean, we're starting to see a lot of these companies report really good numbers, but not so much guidance. Their guidance is either being split, pulled, or manipulated in a way to where they're just not sure what the outcome could be because of so much tariff uncertainty. I wanted to see some direction on where they think their ad revenue is going. So it doesn't sound like we really got that. But we did get some other interesting pieces. Like I think there was a mention of their Google glasses to compete with Meta. Am I wrong about that? I thought that was something that I had.
You probably weren't. Full disclosure here, I actually did not go through the conference call because I was focused on the draft yesterday. So I actually did not read the transcript here on that.
Admittedly, I didn't have, I didn't go through everything as well, but it's just one of those things that I caught wind of. And I thought that's what was also helping give this a lift. But yeah, I would have to go look and see what they said about ad revenue coming up. Because I feel like that's going to be something we're going to probably end up seeing reductions in, if we are going to be seeing the economy slow. So that would be my expectation. I just want to see if that was, my fears were confirmed, but I'll have to look at that and get back to you on Monday. But other than that, it looks like we're kind of trading off the highs we were putting in the after hours. Got as high as 168, 169.
Yeah, and 169.18 was that really key level that you had me add here on that chart a while back. So it looks like we're butting up against that here today.
Well, one thing that I'm going to want to see, and this is it's great that we're up here, is I want to see it hold above the 50-day SMA. That once we start closing above these larger simple moving averages, it lends to the possibility that there is a recovery happening. So we're above the 20. That's great. Got two closes above it. We haven't had that since we lost it back in February. So want to see some multiple closes above the 50 next, and then we have a trend line that's also in the way. So we'll see if we end up getting that here. I'm not really holding my breath that we're going to hold it for now, but it would be nice to see if it did.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. That is the Google report. Let's hit these movers. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're going to flip over to the movers workspace here in Pro. I'll tell you what, I know hitting these movers is made awfully easy with Benzinga Pro. Shout out to you. First one on the list here is going to be OMEX. This is reported yesterday. Odyssey Marine Exploration shares are trading higher following a Reuters report indicating President Trump is expected to sign an executive order to advance the deep sea mining industry. That has OMEX popping here. We remember, we did get this yesterday. This actually moved from 45 cents to an intraday high of 113. It did back off, but recapture the VWAP, held higher in the after-hour session, and now pushing for a second time here this morning. Really quick look around the horn on OMEX here. Oh, I don't know that. Okay, I'm actually going to refresh this in a sec. Looks like I got a little bit of latency issue. Most recent short report here, 6.91% of the float shorted on 1.89 days to cover. Now that comes here with an average volume of 9.3 million. Already we've traded 67 million. Remember, this was a penny stock a few days ago. So 13, what are you thinking here? Ticker OMEX.
Before I go over that, do me a favor, draw a trend line starting from the highs from yesterday, going through the highs from this morning. That is the trend line that I have been watching. And that was the one I drew when Mark was on, and we were just coming up to that 152 high. So this is the trend line that is in the way right now of progress. I think we need to break above this if we're going to see any further higher prints. We could still, kind of ride this line up, but this is the resistance I'm watching for. So if we cannot get above this, then I think we're headed lower. We've seen this happen before. I'm trying to think of the stock that we saw this in. I think it was AREB. But anyway, we've seen a lot of movers that have had this similar setup where after the third attempt to break over it, if that doesn't happen, we tend to trail lower. So that's going to be something I'm going to be watching here with OMEX. Now, as far as what's going on with the company, they have 24 million shares in the float. The balance sheet is awful. It's just awful. They have more debt than they have, assets. So they're very over leveraged, and I guess that's kind of be expected from a mining company. They also have filed a 50 million shelf offering.
Yep.
That happened on April 1st. That has not been filled. So when it comes to shelf offerings, they could do this at any time, and they could do it at the money prices. So this could be an opportune time for them to start issuing some of those the stock to raise that capital. Could see that as early as today. I'd be very careful with it, especially when you look at their balance sheet and realize, holy crap, this company has nothing but debt.
Okay, so it seems to me like maybe an equity raise or an offering here would be the right thing to do if it continues to trade up given that amount of debt. Okay, really good breakdown there. Ticker OMEX. That was the first one on our list here. Next is going to be SES. And shout out because there was someone in the chat, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, sometime recently, there was someone here mentioning SES. It didn't really do much on that day, but today we're seeing an outsized move here.
He just revealed himself earlier. He was in the chat. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you who it was, but he was just posting that he mentioned it yesterday.
Okay. Envious. Okay. Yeah. Envious. Welcome back. All right. Good stuff. Yeah. I was going to say, I remember somebody mentioning this. I couldn't place the name. Thank you for doing that. SES here. This is SESAI. Shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q1 EPS results and authorized the $30 million share repurchase program. You can see this actually traded up here in the pre-market up towards 120. We did find some resistance there twice already, but we've not broken down back through the VWAP. So that's positive. Short interest, look around the horn here, 13.65% of the float shorted. That happens on 1 day to cover. That happens on 21.6 million shares of volume. We've already traded 22. I don't really think there is squeeze potential here despite that short interest, but we'll see what you have to say here. Float way thicker than some of these other ones that we trade here at almost 173 million. So 13, what do you think here? Ticker SES.
So for SES, 1 second. Line Atlas, I have been adding Google. I'll get into that in a little bit. As far as SES goes, that stock buyback after their earnings report is helping it lift up here. We have traded this one before. Got levels still marked off here. We've been hitting them all morning ever since the ER. Looks like I've got 120 as a big resistance area. We did get up there to 121 this morning. Could not close over that 120 area. So we are trying to test that again. Just got rejected. I still think that we could see another test of 120. Not sure if of a breakthrough or not, but if we do, then we'd be looking at 130 and then 142, almost in multiples of 10 cents going up from here. Then I have the highest one I have marked off here is at 160. So we'll see if we end up getting that. Okay. They have 172 million shares in the float, so that's very heavy. It might be hard to move this thing up to those levels. Fortunately, though, the company does have a lot of cash, and I do mean a lot of cash. They have almost 129 million in the bank. They have 133 million in short-term investments. And they do, they're not really that profitable right now at all.
but they only burn like 13 to 15 million per quarter. So with that cash hoard, probably not needing of an equity raise soon, right?
Well, they do have operational expenses, so there is a little bit more of a burn in, or a little bit of a larger loss in net income. So you're looking at like 30 to 34 million over the past couple of quarters. So they may be experiencing a rise in costs, but that 13% of the float being shorted, I believe that's the highest it's ever been. So this is, it seems like it's a little out of favor right now, but that could work to its benefit, seeing this the short squeeze. A short squeeze could be happening here with the stock buyback, and also that's going to help reduce the size of their float when they do that buyback as well. Okay.
Real good stuff there. SES next. Pony, Pony, or as Smoke Tuna likes to say, the Pony Express. What a move up yesterday. Looks like we're getting some continuation on that move here today. By the way, good morning. Bonjour, Smoke Tuna. It's great to see you here. Jay, welcome as well. STFU, Ivan, and anyone else that I may have missed. Pete. C-Dub Cell, anyone else that I may have missed, good morning, happy Friday. Here is Pony. You can see we're up another 21% here. We actually ticked up in the after hours. We sold that back pretty much right down to the closing price in the pre-market here today, and then ramped from that and went even higher. So Pony Express, or Smoke Tuna, look what you did. Look what you did to me. You got me. I got it there. Pony AI Incorporated and Tencent Cloud announces strategic partnership to advance autonomous driving technology and robo-taxi commercial deployment. We're getting a lot of autonomous driving news here today. Tesla, Google, Pony AI. That's the headline here from this morning, or the press release here from this morning. Quick look around the horn. 1.18% of the float shorted with 1.69 days to cover. That happens on 2.29 million shares of volume. We've already traded just about 7. Float here, gigantic, the biggest that we've looked at so far on any of these smaller stocks, 261 million. That didn't stop Pony from having a big move yesterday. Looks like we're setting up here today. What do you see on this one?
It's been making some big moves all week. Looks like we bottomed at 411 on what was this, Tuesday, and we've been turning around ever since. Now, as far as where this could go, I do have the 65 EMA on the daily at 1045, and then I also have the 200 EMA at $12. And the thing about $12 that looks like the most interesting level to me, because when you draw a line there and look to the left, you'll see that has been the support area ever since this IPO back last year. I have to think that we're going to probably trade at least up to one of those EMAs. And if we do get up to 12, I don't think that we would go much higher than that. I'd be pretty surprised if we did. Looking at the balance sheet, the company claims to have hundreds of millions in the bank. No read on their income statement. Float, like you said, is the largest that we've seen today. And this is a company based in China. So I don't know how much strength it's going to have given the state of their economy right now. So that's all I can really speak on this one. Just to watch out for those levels. I think those are going to be in play, 1045 and 12. Okay.
Really good stuff here. Ryan telling me, Ryan, say this. What am I? Am I here for your amusement? Is that?
Yes.
Of course, that's the right answer. Bonjour et tout, I believe is how that's pronounced. And that is hello, everyone. If my French is correct, Smoke Tuna, I hope I'm not offending you. I'm doing my best, man, but there you go. Okay, next here on the list, we're going to talk again about CEP. This is actually changing around here. Look, this was a miss for me yesterday, just straight up. There's just no other way to put it. CEP, this was an absolute monster mover yesterday. I want to shout out STFU again. We did not quite get back to 40, but honestly, dude, you called that bounce at the exact right time, and we did get to 36. So although we didn't get to 40, still a pretty good call, and you were active and on top of that the entire day yesterday. Here we are in the pre-market here today. We're trading up. Looks like about 32.50 is where we topped out. We're holding right here at that round number on 30. Didn't have any new news on this here today, and the short interest here, 0.08% of the float shorted, pretty negligible float here on this 10 million. What do you think about CEP? You think we get some more fireworks here today with this one?
It's certainly possible. I was just drawing a couple of horizontal lines and a trend line while you were going over it real quick, because yesterday gave us some pretty good areas we can work with. So if we just start with drawing a trend line from the highs from yesterday and take it through the that second rally that we got in the afternoon, that took it up to about 34, and draw the trend line through that. You can see that that trend line goes all the way through to the end of the after hours trading. And then we end up getting a breakout in the the pre-market session here this morning. And we're still trading above that area. So if this trend continues, I think that we're on deck for potentially another 34 test pretty soon here. We're not too far away from that. We're about $4.50 away. So I would be looking at 34 as an upside level. And then you also have that that high that we got after the first impulse move. That came shortly in the morning after the show here in the morning. That's at about 36.25, I believe. So,
okay, we just lost 30, by the way, while we were talking. So if the round numbers are something that you care about, we actually just gave that up by about 50 cents. Good morning, Jay Wild. STFU saying, I think CEP is done, and I'm scared of its momentum from yesterday. There's no shame in sitting out that crazy BS yesterday. Yeah, again, one of the things here, you guys might not believe me, but this is something that we have discussed, whether it was Mitch back in the day or 13 now. One of the things that we really want to do, the entire point of this show is not to be like, oh my God, look how much money we made. We're Lambo shopping, blah, blah, blah. No, the point of this show is to give actionable information and helpful information to help the community make more money. So if anything was helpful for that yesterday, that's great. I would like to be able to just say, hey, let's buy this now, or this looks interesting right now, and have that work all the time. I'm going to miss some of these. This is, again, why it's so important that we try to involve everybody here, because even if I miss something, chances are our group isn't going to miss that same thing, and y'all should be able to benefit from that. So that's pretty much the only reason I was saying that. I love, my favorite comments are when people come back in here and said, thank you, this helped me make money. It is my favorite thing to say. You can ask some of my coworkers. It really sets up the rest of the day for me. It's just how it goes.
To put a cap on this CEP, I think if we are going to, if this is done, I'd be watching 28 as the level for. I guess that would be for me the confirmation. If we cannot hold up above 28, then I'm just going to move on from this.
Okay. Good morning, Amanda. It's great to see you. Ryan said it. He's shopping at Lambo. I don't recall saying that. I'm wondering if you recently applied to work at CNN, because that news is fake AF.
You're going to have to start making your jokes about Ferrari, because Lambo doesn't work too well for you, man.
Oh, Amanda, I apologize. Amanda, I apologize. You were doing a play on words with Lamborghini and Lambeau Field. One at the very high end of the spectrum, the other in the toilet. I'll let you figure that out. All jokes aside, good morning. It's great to see you. Thanks for calling us your favorite humans. Okay, all jokes aside, so that's Pony, CEP. Did you have anything on KIT or OLB? KIT, look, this is a robotic. Is this movie? Yeah.
I was going to get to this one. Yep.
Okay, so let's do this. So we had a PR. Is this last night? Yeah, so Nauticus Robotics announces the start of the 2025 offshore season. I'm not even sure I know what I have to read through that PR here. Now, the stock's up 20% here today. Didn't we see Serve and Rich Tech Robotics move recently?
I don't think it's moving on that. I think it's moving the same with Omex. It's a deep sea mining play. Okay, there you go. We get a good breakdown. I'm glad you're here, 13. Quick look around the horn real quick. 56.56% of the float shorted. That's on 2 days to cover and 4.2 million shares of volume. We've traded almost 10 here today. Float's to almost 35 million. What do you got? So they recently had earnings. It was better than expected. I think it was up over quite a bit from last year. Still, I don't know that if I really would trust this one. I think I just briefly took a look at it and I thought to myself, okay, this is probably about in the same camp that Omex is. So going to have to treat this with some extra caution. Let me just go back over here to Kit. I did a trend line with this one as well. This one actually broke above it and went up to 145. It has since now come back beneath it. And I was drawing that trend line using the two highs from yesterday. The one at 11:15 and then at 12:40. I just threw that up through those two, and we came right up to that area and started getting resistance. But we ultimately broke through, and now we're breaking back down. So I feel like this is going to probably trade similarly to Omex. And the earliest support that I see, if we are going to lose altitude from here, is going to be about 120. But once again, this one I'm not sure about either. Just the same as with Omex.
Okay, Omex here, by the way. I know you had me plop this trend line on earlier. Here we go. While we're talking, Omex now busting that trend line to the upside. One of the things to take a look at here on Omex would be a back test and a hold of that trend line. Remember, we actually saw similar action on a larger time frame with OKLO, if you recall correctly. And when it finally moved through its trend line, it went huge, but then came all the way back in. So watch to see if we get the same thing here on Omex.
You just have to be really careful with Omex with the how they have that shelf offering out there. That's gonna bite people, I feel like. So just be careful with these deep sea mining stocks right now.
Okay. That's it for the movers, at least so far. This is the big ones here. I know
that was also up, but that's since come back in a bit, and it's beneath its VWAP right
475. Now. This one's clear. 475, your upside double top. This is your intraday high from yesterday as well as your pre-market high today. If we get above that, maybe this has some more fireworks. We've seen the stock have fireworks, so we know that that's possible. All right, I'm going to flip over to the main workspace. 13, I'm going to take an early step away here. What chart do you want me to put up? I'll be right back.
Go ahead and just throw Google up there, because I was getting asked if I was adding when it was falling down. It certainly was. Okay,
here's your Google chart, 13. I will be right back.
All right. So, when it was, let me just pull up my chart so I can follow along. I knew you were asking if I was picking this up when it was falling down. I've been talking a lot about how I liked, 155, 150. I also added down at 145 as well. So let me just double check here and see what my exact levels were. So 155 I added at in the 153 handle, 148 handle, and 141 handle. So those are all my adds there. I'm good for now. I'm happy with where it's at. I can stand to add more later if this continues to go down. I'm not necessarily sure that it will, but I'm ready for both outcomes. So really happy with where my adds were, and I think I'm going to be doing just fine. Now, as far as you want to also look at what Amazon that you were mentioning, because that is another one that I like that I also own. And very similar chart, but this one, with I think a much more recent death cross. Yeah, Google death crossed earlier. This one just did earlier, like I think it was earlier this week that a death cross. So I think when it comes to Amazon, I'm not sure that this one's done going down quite yet. I still think there could be some more headwinds, especially with the tariff situation. But I'm okay with where I'm at for now. And if we do go lower, I do have some levels I'd be interested in. It's probably going to be closer to the 150s.
Okay, let me clean up some great comments here. STFU saying then super chat. Thank you, STFU. We really appreciate all of your support on a daily basis. Then let me say it. Thank you, group Ryan and 13. You've helped me make money. Dude, registering, one up, Chewbacca, the whole 9 yards. Like, let's go. This is a Friday. This is what we're here for. That's really good stuff. And also, folks, here, one more thing. We wanted to break this news. Amanda, very, very humble here. To be fair, with the favorite humans comment, I was talking about Tuna, Lion, and Fairchild, nobody else. One more thing to remind you folks, anyone that's in the Midwest here, Amanda is starting her new comedy spot at the Traverse City Comedy Club pretty soon. So if you want to see her new stand-up, because she's obviously hilarious, you should be able to do that here pretty soon. Tuna, let us know what time that starts.
Tuna, Lion, Fairchild. It sounds like the start to a crypto key, doesn't it?
Okay, there we go. Okay. We are almost open here. We're less than a minute.
Perfect.
Trump, by the way, really quickly, I'm seeing this on CNBC. This was moments ago. Trump says, quote, spoken to President Xi numerous times, end quote. Of course, China's saying that there are no ongoing talks. This is fun, by the way. I hope y'all have fun with this one.
It's hilarious. And he's probably talking to some folks in some back channels that are not necessarily in Xi's same party. But we'll see what's going to happen. There's a lot of some real behind the scenes things happening here that doesn't look like either side really wants to admit to one or the other, but we'll see, because this is just an entertainment for us at this point.
You know, one of the things that I think is going on here, I was kind of talking about this earlier, just kind of going back and reading between the lines on some of these comments here. We've talked a lot about how China really wants to save face and all of that. Trump even said they're trying to figure this out. It seems like this is just the going back and forth process. Okay, we're open here. Let's see what we're doing.
Looks like getting a little. It looked like we were about to get a little bit of a lift out of Pony, but that was a bit of a fake. Trading beneath VWAP now. OMEX getting some support from that trend line that we drew. See if that holds.
RZLV here, Resolve AI. This is one that we've recently traded. This is trying for its VWAP right now. VWAP here at 211. It actually tried to bust over that. Let me actually throw that up here. RZLV. Let's see what the level 2 looks like. Okay, we're holding right above that VWAP 211 there.
I think you're going to run into some sellers at about 215 to 225. There's that morning consolidation there that would be concerning to me, and the volume isn't looking that great. I think the volume really needs to increase in order to get through that supply area.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good call. I'm also seeing some more size there at 215 if this continues to trade up. So we'll see if we break that. OLB also moving here. This has actually had a kind of a weak pre-market. Looks like it might be trying to turn around here. And let's see, let's see what's going on.
And then there goes Resolve AI. That just pulled back beneath its VWAP after getting right kind of close to that. Not exactly the area I was looking at, looking for the resistance, that supply area, but pretty darn close. We'll see if it can try that again later. Looks like SQQQ is trying to capture its VWAP. Guess the market's pulling off this news. And look at CEP. Almost right up to that 34 area. Pretty close. High is 33.64.
That 32 looks like a breakout spot here, CEP. You know what? RZLV kind of stopped there at the VWAP. Let me bring up CEP. I'll see if I notice anything off the level 2 here. We're trying to get above that pre-market high at 32.
Very, very spready, CEP. Just be very careful.
Blazed Rhino says, you two help me stay sane. Well, that's great, because I've been told I make people go insane. So I'll take the other side of that. Thank you, Blazed Rhino. CEP again, still struggling with that 32 here. I think you guys were right to have a little bit more caution on this name, at least early on. Kit, this rolled over, but so far holding that 15 EMA on the 5.
Getting some weakness in Bitcoin here. See some potential adding areas under 94,000. We're getting pretty close there. I think about 93,750 could be an interesting area for support in Bitcoin.
Hey, Kit coming in here now. That looks pretty weak. We'll see if that firms up and gives us a trade. Tesla, by the way, this was higher here in the pre-market. This is coming back. Maybe this bounces off the unchanged level, only up 0.4 here on Tesla.
You were mentioning a double top in SDS, right, from the pre-market here? I think that was a really good call.
Say that one more time, sorry.
I think you were mentioning a double top in SCS in the pre-market.
Yes.
That was a really good call, because this just really went down out of the open here. Let's see if it can get some support, because you don't want this falling under $1, and it got really close to doing that.
120, that double top level that we mentioned earlier. Here's OMEX, by the way, still holding. CEP right back onto that 32 spot, and now back to, man, this thing is all over the place. It is spread like crazy too on CEP. I'm glad I'm sitting that one out. I don't need that. That's Friday. I don't need that on a Friday before golf. No, sir.
You're going to be sitting there just looking at your ball like, I shouldn't have bought a CEP.
I tell you, the best ever was one of the golf trips I went on. We had a morning round after a night where we enjoyed a few adult beverages. And when I was on the first tee box, I didn't really say anything to my group. And I had my fingers crossed, man. I was hoping. I swung and I absolutely tattooed it dead straight. I turned around, I looked at my group, I said, I saw 2 balls right there. Glad I hit the right one. So that's just how it goes sometimes. I mean,
oh gosh, that just reminds me of Tombstone, Val Kilmer. I got 2 guns, 1 for each of you.
Val Kilmer, rip, man. Val Kilmer was an awesome actor. Shout out to him playing Jim Morrison, by the way. Here, SOUN, this is getting mentioned here by Will. SOUN popping on volume. Will, was there news on this? We do have earnings in 2 weeks here. Remember, they don't have that deal with NVIDIA anymore, which is really what drove them here. I don't see any news accompanying this pop, but we do have that pre-market high about 950.
Yeah, it's really interesting watching CEP. It's like it's walking the line between going and failing, but we'll see what we get out of this.
Here is CEP still flirting with that 32 level. Is he mentioning Uber is beasting here?
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like SES is trying to get over that 120 again. They just somebody just came in and bought all that downside up. That was when it was trading there $1. Took it over VWAP, and now we're back up here at 120. Watching for a potential breakout in SES.
Okay. So we got 120, a possible breakout spot on SES. We got 32, a possible breakout spot here. CEP, place your bets. So 32 is crossed here. CEP here. I'm actually going to go to that one here. And then the other, so just let's start preparing for some next levels here. I guess 34, 36, and 39.
Yep. I like, let's pull this down a little bit here. Yeah, I do. So 34 exactly, 36 exactly. And then the high from yesterday was, 39.29.
Rocky's asking, are you guys awaiting Michigan consumer sentiment? Yes, that happens in 24 minutes, Rocky. We will be bringing that number to you as soon as that print is out. That actually did move the market a couple of weeks ago. It'll be interesting to see what we do here again. S&P futures, by the way, ahead of that print, ticking up here. S&P futures up now 0.12%. They are up off the lows. That actually did a green to red move in the pre-market. Back to green here.
OMEX dropped after hitting 170 out of the gate. It came down to about 143, trying to recover and go positive again.
CEP 3250 still.
Yeah, this thing is just so wild. You kind of have to, identify where your entries and exits are going to be and just have those set so that this wild price action can hit it.
Hey, look at this trend line you had me draw on Reddit a while ago. Look at how clean that bounce was off that.
Love to see it.
Yeah, me too. Love to see when stuff works out here. Apple at the highs here. Interesting. Apple getting back what it lost in the latter half of the pre-market. VIX, by the way, 2640 on the VIX. That actually looks like it might roll over a little bit here. We'll see what happens with the market. Tick very much in line, and another quick check on the advanced to decliners, minus 460. Very, very I guess small action. Sorry?
I think 34 is coming here in CEP.
Okay, let me go back to CEP then, because that's one of the levels. Here we go.
Yeah, it just went up to 33.79. And there it is.
Masroor made some money on AGMH. We didn't even cover it. Masroor out here doing his own trading. That is awesome to see. Cash register ring for you, my friend. 34 is down on CEP. STFU is loving it.
Yep. Oh, yeah, he's doing backflips.
Lion here saying, I think we might run up here in the morning and then sell off later in the day. It's always possible here. And by the way, I did carry that SPXS position overnight, still in that. That expires next week. I'm going to hold that there just in case. The other thing is if we have a big run here, I actually may add to that position, but choose a different strike. We'll see how that shakes out here.
RZLV with this move all the way up to near the pre-market high. We are getting to the top of a lot of the consolidation. Pre-market high 231. We are looking at 225 right now.
Anthony, I love this, folks. You guys are genius. Just made money on CEP. You're the genius that decided to buy. Well done, Anthony. Enjoy your Friday, my man.
Yeah, we got a really nice big move up through 34 up to 34.83, but now we're pulling back.
MSTR here, ripping out of the gate here. That means Crow is on MSTU.
It looks like Bitcoin did get some support from those highs earlier this morning, down at 34. I'm sorry, 94 exactly. It's reversing. So if we are going to continue to go higher, there is some resistance up at the 35. I'm sorry, the 95,000 handle. Did break over that once or a couple of times briefly this morning, but no closes above it. So that's looking like the big resistance area on this move up here, 95,000 for Bitcoin.
Okay. SES still holding there. CEP did move above that level, but it's kind of holding there. Tesla ripping here, looking like it's challenging those pre-market highs. 265 might be that trigger there on that. Good morning, Beach Bum.
Looks like Kit's trying to move back over its VWAP. Volume needs to be a little bit better. It's also got the trend line that we drew to deal with as well.
Smoke Tuna saying Omex will go. It's got enough support. Amanda saying she sold some 450 calls on CrowdStrike.
Oh, wow. So you're in that and you're just kind of just selling or just kind of capture some premium?
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you own stock? Are you selling those calls against the stock that you own, or are you just selling calls outright?
Yeah.
Another options trade here for Amanda, our resident option expert, just sold a skewed Netflix Iron Condor for June, 895, 9, 12, 12, 20. So it's short delta, but should make money on both sides. Best part, over half the width of the strikes in premium. Amanda is literally got a mind meld going with Anne Marie right now. Love that. Good morning, Wisdom. It's great to see you.
Wisdom with an offer.
If you're in Maui area, come by for dinner at Reina's. Are on me for everyone free of charge. Lambo curb service will be available.
Oh, so you are a Packer fan.
Oh, not me. That was Wisdom. He lives out in Hawaii.
OLB, this one is moving over. It's 65 EMA. It was rejected 5 minutes ago. Now it's starting to trade over it. Still worried about the consolidation from the pre-market in this one, but it's putting in some good moves.
CEP totally reversed here, $30 now as that's coming in. For me, for OLB, it looks like we were actually rejected at that VWAP here. We'll see if we can cross above that.
Fantastic trading on CEP, guys. If you took your profits on that 34 print, you're doing fantastic right now.
I really like that Mark pretty much had a really kind of focused on trailing stops here. A number of the examples that he had, that can really kind of help for some of these moves here. Trailing stops work on longer term trades and shorter ones. Yeah.
Omex, it has a extremely large seller at just under 160. It's like 500,000 shares. If they can chew through this, if this could really blast off, but that's a massive amount. I don't know if you can see it on level 2, but that is a massive wall of sellers right there. It looks like 159.
I still had CEP up. Let me take a look here at Omex. Yeah, I do see that. There it is.
And they're trying to chip at it right now.
Yeah, and they're hitting it. There we go. The big chip's coming. There it is. Gone. Here we go. Higher. What a call, 13. Another big block of sellers here at 170. That's actually looks a little bit less, though. They're chipping it again. This is going to go higher here, folks, if they take this.
That was I was hearing what some I'm sorry, I missed who said it in the chat, but they were saying that it was gearing up, and I saw that level there, and I was like, oh, if we get through that, this thing is going to go. Here we are with new high, 173 now. Thank you in the chat, whoever mentioned the support in Omex. That helped. SES also coming up to that 120 again. Let's see if we get a break over that. Sorry.
I was just going to say the Omex did take that 170, stopped there at 175 and came back in a little bit. Jay here mentioning that Google is fading from that good report here. Google was up 3.6% earlier. We are back down here. Haven't really given everything back. Now, remember, when we saw this on Netflix, right, they had a really good report. They popped. They came all the way back in. They never went. They kind of bounced. The Netflix stock kind of bounced off of the level prior to the report. I almost wonder if we're going to get a similar setup here in Google. Remember, Netflix went crazy after that, gave us a really good buy. 180, your new high on Omex, by the way.
It looks like Google has some support around 162, but it wouldn't surprise me if this gap that was created overnight ends up filling, and that's going to be in the 159 handle.
Stop me if you've ever heard this before, but Tuna with a call here yet again on Omex. Tuna, I'll tell you what, man, you just out here getting it done. Getting it done for the group.
All right, let's look around at some of these other ones. A couple of good trades today. Nothing really running, but you know, we've got some pretty good setups. We're capturing some stuff. It's not bad. But I want to see something run. That'd be great. So Wallace, so there's, you know, there are, I think there's even more than just that one level, because I saw quite a few of them. Let's see here. Going up here, there's let's see, you were saying 173. It looks like they may have taken those out. From here, it looks like the concentrations of sellers is going to be a lot of it in the 180 to 190 area. Large amount at $2 and $2.04. From here, you know, to that price, it's looking like, you know, well over 250,000 shares of orders that are just sitting out there right now, waiting to be sold. So lots of supply to choose from, or to chew through.
Okay. Amanda here saying, I think people will take profits and leave the computer early today. Things feel heavy. That is my read here too. I felt that way last week before the Good Friday holiday. I feel the same here today.
Looks like RZLV is going on to make new highs. We're now above the pre-market highs. 232 is the current high now.
Also, we're 14 minutes away from that Michigan consumer sentiment print. S&P futures here at about unchanged, down 0.05%.
SES trying to make that move over 120. It's got a concentration of sellers at 122. Need to see some volume expand here, and we can go higher.
See a number of you folks mentioning Pony. Let's check in on that name.
Down to the 65 EMA, and where a lot of this consolidation is here from the after hours and some of the pre-market. So this might be a bit of a demand zone here. Let's see if we get some support. Pony buy was 3 days ago.
Actually, yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Tuna legitimately said that 3 days ago.
Yeah.
I don't think that's new. I'm pretty sure he's been talking about Pony for several sessions here. Great to see it work.
CEP just tried to recapture VWAP. It failed in the process, and now we're coming down to the 65 EMA. Let's see if we get some support here. Not holding my breath on that, though.
Izzy, 2 for 2 on scalps here on Google. Are you scalping this to the short side? Or are you just playing bounces off some of this? Interesting. Actually, I might have another bounce here at 165.
Really need to see this
question here from Al. I'm thinking of which cryptocurrency to buy. Where can I buy XIII token? I have no idea. I think there are a couple of people talking about that. I almost wonder, is that a junk token pump? I don't know, Al. Let me know if any of you crypto folks know about that. Let Al know.
Yeah, when it comes to crypto, we do talk about some cryptos, but mostly it's just Bitcoin.
Yeah, we stick to the big ones.
Yeah. The consumer report is going to take the market down. That says line. I could see that too. It's like one of the only reports that we're getting today. And then, next week's going to be the report week. We're going to have more of the, well, I guess we call them the lag sevens now. We're going to have more of those.
Here you go.
Microsoft, Apple, I think Amazon, and Meta. I think those are the 4 that are reporting next week. And then we also have 3 of the 4 indicators that the Fed uses to make their decisions. That's going to be GDP, PCE, and the BLS jobs report. That's all coming next week. And then the week after this, next week, we're going to have their rate decision. So lots of things happening one week after the other between now and 2 weeks from now. It'll be very, very exciting to see what we get out of this. SCS finally breaking over 22 and going. Finally finally this is getting on the move, but I want to see a little bit bigger move than this. We're headed towards 130 though.
Okay, good stuff there on SES. Britt, good morning. It's great to see you here. Happy Friday. Britt mentioning UPXI, which was a big mover from earlier here in the week. UPXI up another 23.5%. Wow, great. And you know what else? Nice volume move through the 1466 or 1469 pre-market high here. UPXI above 17 now. This running, Britt, this is a timely call.
Look, well, I mean, hey, that Smoke Tuna was also saying about how he was mentioning that this could still go. Not to discount what Britt's mentioning here, but a couple of folks saying this. Now, when I look at UPXI and the price action we've had since yesterday going into today, look at this sideways consolidation going in from about halfway into yesterday all through the morning, getting support at 1350 from that the demand area, and just rocketing right off of it. 1350, very important level. I think we should be marking off, and if we're going to continue to trade this to the up and down side.
I would also say $20 in play here today. If this continues to trade up, that also would be a key level.
Looks like Omex is going to try and make another move. Just don't know if we're going to end up getting up to 2 or not, but it looks like it's trying to take out 180 here in a bit. Lots of buyers from 165.
Yeah, and I'm looking at that 180 spot. I don't have a read here on what's on the offer there, but I want to see when it trades back up there. It looks like they're walking some of that offer down here to the 175.74 spot.
OLB is trying to make its next move. Volume isn't great though, so I don't know that's going to get to that consolidation area from the after hours of pre-market I had mentioned earlier.
Apple 209.
AREB is trying to, same thing with this one, needs better volume, but it looks like it's trying to get going here. Facing resistance around 450 so far this morning.
On which one?
That was AREB, A-R-E-B.
AREB, A-R-E-B.
Yep. Wow, Rocket Lab has been doing pretty well this morning.
Yeah, you guys mentioning that big block there on Omex, 500K print there on Omex.
Yeah, come right down there at 165. So, oh wow, they're really chewing away at that support. Still holding though. They just took like half of that those orders off the table there on 165. Shorting RNGR, says Wisdom. I don't know what you're sorry about. You didn't hurt my feelings, buddy.
Okay, so that XIII is a spammer. That's just I'll keep that in mind if we see any more of those comments. I'll try and keep the garbage out of here, guys.
Ryan the Trash Man. Take
Hey,
out the trash.
look, we wear many hats here at Benzinga. If you've learned nothing, you should learn that teammates here at BZ, we wear all types of different hats.
And SES weakening, hit 125, and now it's coming down to VWAP. Yeah, market is looking like it's going lower.
SPXU here. This would be another short ETF. Lion was talking about SQQQ. I'm already in SPXS. I think Matt Maley was also trading SQQQ. I don't have the data in front of me, so I don't want to say for sure, but I'm pretty sure I saw that yesterday. Omex might be trying to trade back up to the highs. Get in there, 13.
Look at the SQQQ highs we've been making this morning. It's 33.25 on 2 occasions already, and we're coming up to that level again. That could be a potential breakout area, 33.25.
Okay, good stuff on the short interest. Ryan works for Waste Management. Now, you know what I don't, Lion? I'm independent, but low key, kind of wish I had shares or stock options on this. Look at this daily chart. Look at this. Look at it.
Humans are trash generating machines.
Yes.
Waste Management will always have a business.
And it will never stop. Will never stop. Jay, also mentioning here, Jay, you were on this early here. Good stuff for any of you that sold Google. Pete, I think you were swinging Google, being very tactical with that. That was a good trade. Google continuing to give back some of its gains here. Jay also mentioning Meta doing the same thing. Meta is still holding on to green here, only up 0.6 now. This was up much higher in the pre-market.
Good.
Stock's coming back in.
Good. Have all those that report next week start fading. If they fade into their earnings, that might help, create a reversal. We'll see if that ends up happening, but that has something that's something we've observed before. If they tend to, rally into earnings. Usually the print takes it down. Opposite happens too. If it fades into the earnings, it usually rebounds, or sometimes can. Sorry.
It's fine. I totally jumped the gun there on you. My apologies. Parker here. Good trade question here. Timus, is anyone buying the dip on good earnings? So Timus here sold down, taking another leg down here. You know what? This might have been a really good one to look at with Mark, because look at this. We are right back down to that previous support area that was former resistance. I think it's probably got a hold here. No?
It might. The 200-day SMA is down at 225.78. I would like a bounce off that, to be honest. That would be my best. Oh, geez.
I do not deny anyone their register rings. Amanda calling me out here. Ryan, you aren't sad. You hate meta, lol. Oh, Amanda, you have to get up pretty early in the morning to slip one past Amanda. She didn't let that go.
Yeah, but if there's going to be a telecom that I'd like to pick up at some point in the future, it'd probably be Timus. That's been doing really well. And I've owned AT&T and Verizon in the past. They did really well, but these have been pretty on a pretty good run. I'd like to see some more weakness in the telecoms, to be honest.
Timus does pay a dividend, but it's only a 1.45% yield. That looks rather paltry, given that we've been talking to Tim Melvin that has us in yields 9 to 12% on the regs.
Yeah. That's another reason to let it come in more. Your dividend yield will increase.
Lion, this is actually a key comment here. I hate Meta and I hate the Meta CEO, but I love making money trading the stock. That's, Mark said it earlier here. We're not really in the business to be right or wrong. We're in the business to make money. So all for it there. If you're making money off of it, good stuff.
You can have morals and not trade certain stocks. Just make sure you're not completely shutting yourself out of an entire sector.
Well, the thing that I think Lion's got right here about Meta is that this has been a huge mover. And it's actually now recently, because it's actually finally sold off here, we're actually getting moves in both directions. And the thing here is that if Meta continues to come in here and then doesn't actually continue to break down, this might be again another time to kind of load this. We were also talking a little bit about maybe the bottom being potentially in. Well, we'll see. Meta would probably be a good buy here. Izzy asking, am I adding to Ondas? No, not today. I actually added earlier in the week here. I'm probably going to hold off on that here today. We did have some news about some White House news about some drone stuff. We'll see how that shakes out over the weekend. But no, not here today. Izzy, one of the things that's affecting I guess you should all know this. One of the things that's affecting my trading here today is I am going to be out of the office for a majority of the afternoon. And I'm going to have limited contact with my trading account. So I don't necessarily want to put things on that I can't babysit or look at later. I'm going to wait this pull on Ondas out. I've been adding to that. I've got quite a bit of it now.
OMEX starting to get weak here. Now the price is trading on the underside of that one jackass that likes to have 500,000 shares hanging out in the order book there. He's not. It goes from being bids to asks with 500,000 shares. I don't know who this guy is, but this is they're trying to walk this price down. Maybe they get taken out here because the price is getting chipped away at again at 155.
Coursera. How was some of those other movers? Will, you were mentioning Sound earlier. How did that? Okay, so that actually still held kind of its pop. Maybe that'll keep going here. How did you guys do on Amazon? What did Amazon do here? Okay, so Amazon kind of rolled over. Izzy, where's the buy spot on Amazon?
Lower.
Laura asking me about RTC. This is a Chinese penny pump name. This is definitely not something that I'd trade. Worth the mention here, I suppose, up 75%. This is risk that I just wouldn't take, but this thing's moving here.
This seems like it could be the kind of stock to get delisted, under those rules being proposed.
Yep. BBAI, a little bit of a pop.
Yeah. I mean, they only report their earnings twice a year.
I don't have any interest in that one. Sorry. RTC penny stock that is moving though. It's so worth mentioning.
Yeah, so I'll at least kind of give a thought on where it might go, but I'm not going to really speak too much on this. It did pop up to its 50-day SMA, and it's getting rejected there. It's already had that happen once this month, so that 50-day SMA really coming into play. Looks like if it does get above the 50-day SMA again, it could run as high as 45 cents. But I don't know enough about this company to really make any predictions about how high it could go or what it's going to do. So the only thing I would say is if you're going to continue to trade this, you're going to and you want more upside, you're going to want to see that 50-day SMA to get recaptured and closed above.
Pony Express, pretty much right back to the level that it consolidated at in the after hours, but not breaking down. That's good to see. Smoke Tuna here mentioning SES at a ceiling, so wait for the pullback if you're playing it here.
Kit, the other deep sea robotics one, not having a great day. This drifting lower, hasn't really found a bottom yet. If it is going to search one out, might be closer to 110.
Okay. Tesla looks like that came back in pre-market consolidation area. Where are we at here? Okay, we should be getting that Michigan consumer sentiment print here. Let's see if we have it. I don't see it yet. Did it come out? Let me see. No, I don't see it out. We'll let you know.
There it goes. There it is.
There it is. Michigan consumer 1-year inflation expectations for April, 6.5 versus the 6.7% estimate. That number's a little light there. S&P futures ticking up on this print here. The prior read was 5.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's going to move the needle, being so close to the estimates.
Michigan 5-year inflation expectations for April 4.4 versus the 4.4 estimate. That is in line. Prior read 4.1.
I wonder if that speaks more to the uncertainty. Just with a very little change, they're just kind of like keeping it the same.
S&P futures still ticking up here, looking like it's going to flash a red to green move here. S&P. All those short instruments pulling back here a little bit.
Let's see what we get. Looking around here, looks like RZLV is trying to recapture its VWAP.
Michigan consumer expectations for April, 47.3 versus the 47.2 estimate. Prior read was 52.6.
Think that garners a pop and drop?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering if this pop holds here. We talked a little bit earlier about maybe not holding risk or added risk on through the weekend. That always makes sense to me in times of uncertainty like this. And that's kind of what I wanted to see, how strong this pop was. S&P futures are backing off the high here.
OLB looks like this is trying to get going here as well.
Let me go back to the main workspace.
Trying to push into that supply area that has me nervous. Looks like we're trying to get some movement in these other names too. Looks like SES might be trying to go as well.
Look at Archer. Archer breaking above that 865 level that we had identified there.
It's $9 it has to get above. That's that $9 level.
Okay. Watch Archer here. This is actually up 2% here today.
CEP is still trading above VWAP. It's above 33 now, looking to go to 34 again. There it is. Just let's see, what did we get up to? 33.98. Man,
Izzy's Uber rocking, and on the 5-minute time frame here, this looks like a possible breakout. 1-minute time frame. This looks good on all time frames, folks. Uber. That looks good. That looks good. Omex bouncing off of the VWAP.
Yeah, it's funny that our VWAPs are so different sometimes. Mine's currently facing resistance from VWAP. Kid's still going lower. OLB with a massive move. Massive through a lot of that consolidation that had me worried. And well done, Crow. Just a massive, I don't know if you saw it, but it had just a big move through that.
I did not. I was distracted by Megan Casella's pastel yellow blazer. I'm not a huge fan of yellow, but man, that actually looked good. Sorry about that. I got distracted there, 13. I'll try and bring it back here. Weeble, checking in on Weeble. Looks like lower we go here again. How's Hood doing? Hood, the opposite. Actually looking like this might try and trade higher here. Possible breakout of that pre-market high.
You know, the market really hasn't responded too much to this Michigan consumer sentiment.
Well, it responded immediately, but it kind of stopped. Like it wasn't a big reaction, you know, like we ticked up off of the lows, but we stopped right there. And key 13, the key, we never went red green. We teased it, but we didn't do it.
Yep. So I think it would be good to just be a little bit cautious with this this movement.
Anand is asking, why are the VWAPs different? They're being calculated differently. It's probably missing some type of data, which is causing those to be slightly different.
Yeah, and it's just a broker thing. So, you know, we're not going to be like, oh, what's yours say, what's mine say. We're just going to go with what we have, and we're going to use it that way. We're not going to try to figure out who's is right or wrong.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind here is that, like, when I load the VWAP study in TradingView, I make no adjustments to the VWAP. Okay, so there's literally like no adjustments here. When I do the VWAP in my broker, it is the same, and those are often very similar. The reality is that if your broker uses a different setting for that, of course those numbers are going to be different, and that's likely what's going on here. But the VWAP number that I report, it matches a lot of VWAP numbers that I see elsewhere.
That may be the case, Jay Rice, but it moves markets. That's why we look at it.
Yeah, Lion was bringing up the point earlier that the numbers can get cooked, even if it's political and all that. As Pete said, the chef is busy. I'll probably reuse that, Pete. I'll probably reuse that. CEP. Also, in football, they like to say people are getting cooked a lot, so I'll be able to use that there. Sorry, get in there.
CEP really trying to recapture that 34 handle. It is making multiple attempts to get it, and it's getting rejected so far. Not sure if we're going to see that recapture or not, but this is the price action that looks interesting right now, and it is whipping around.
Here is CEP on screen looking to break that 34 high. Alex here in the chat saying 13, where do you see the actual volume, like you said, that someone sold a higher share? So we're using the level 2 and the price ladder. A shout out to time and sales. So really quickly, Alex, I'll let you answer this too, 13. Really quickly, Alex, the level 2 shows you where the bid and the ask is. The time and sales show you what was actually transacted in what size and at what price. 13 is using a combination of that. He's also using a ladder to visualize all this in real time. 13, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I use a price ladder. Some other brokers will have a different name for it. I also use order book and time and sales. Those are those help me get an idea of where the trades are happening and how big, how much, all that information. Gives me an edge on whether or not I need to stay in something or be out of it. What happened?
Tesla calls. Wow, multiple repeat call sweeps here. May, April, tons of different expiries here. These are the 420. So these are some 0 DTE ones. This is today's expiry. Big time sweeps, multiple. Tesla popping new highs here now. 266 on Tesla. Boy, that came fast and furious. They're still going off.
It's got to be on the self-driving rule changes that I think were just executed by an executive order. This is to compete with. I think this was something that was happening yesterday.
The 265 call seems to be the most hit here. The 265 call expiring today. We just printed 266 on that move up. Alex, sorry, this is probably where the confusion is. I apologize, Alex. Pro does not. So Pro is a news service. It also has charting and scanning capability. What we're talking about are going to be services that your broker should be providing to you at no charge. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see it here on the screen. What we're looking at is the time and sales and the level 2 in the broker. Those are not features of Pro. They should be part of whatever broker you use. But now I understand the confusion. I should have made that more clear. I apologize. NVIDIA here also getting mentioned by Chris. This also at the highs. We still want to watch that 108 level for a possible breakout there. Ticker NVDA.
Rocket Lab, rocketing.
How's the rest of your space watch list going?
Only a few are down today. That's going to be Virgin Galactic, Iridium, and AST Space Mobile. Everything else is green. Everything else is green.
Izzy, if you took a short-term move on that ONDS move, looking like you're getting a bounce here, remember, my whole thing is I'm not trying to trade this short-term. I think you did actually mention this at 76 cents. I know we're only up a penny here, but it does look like maybe it's bouncing. So you've been really good on those kind of short-term back and forths. You might be getting a bounce here. SXTC, this is one from earlier this week. This was Tuesday. SXTC, some of running up. The good news here is that we have some pretty clear levels. We're right at the top that we made on Wednesday morning. We bust above that 210 level, that puts some of these other price levels in play, namely 250, maybe 3, and then 320. You're welcome, Alex. No problem.
I am taking a look. See, who was it that was mentioning it? Somebody mentioned Charter, and I remember seeing that there was some talk about how this may be a good valuation for the company. So I haven't taken a look at it because, if you ever had Time Warner, you know that what a terrible company that was. This is what Charter Communications is. It's that company and a couple of others that merged together. I think back almost 10 years ago. This is a bit of a trend line that Charter CHTR. This is a bit of a trend line that we could keep an eye on. If it breaks, it might start trading better. But if you could start with the September 2023 high. Draw it through the November 2024 high.
Sorry, which ticker I was reading and not paying attention?
CHTR, Charter.
You said Charter 3 times, and I just sorry.
So yeah, if you just do the daily chart and just draw from September 2023 highs through the November 2024 highs and extend it in both directions, you can see that this is the trend line I'm watching to recapture. If we get above this, I think this could end up trading better.
Okay, here you go on Charter. Yeah, STFU saying don't short Tesla. Yeah, Tesla shorts that were on today, new Tesla shorts, they got wrecked. I'm still seeing call flow here from the unusual option activity.
OLB is trying to make that another push through that consolidation. It's getting up into the 2 handle. 226 is the pre-market high.
Soundhound. Hey, Britt, let's go. This taking another leg higher here. SOUN. Britt, what's your target on Soundhound, if you have one? Let me know. Izzy mentioning that Uber is cranking. I'm glad we talked about Uber here today. We gave you some of those levels, too. This is actually at one of Mark's levels, isn't it? 81. No, it was we're close. It was the 8220. Almost there.
Almost there. Speaking of almost there, Bitcoin about to take out the highs from today, looking for a break over 95,000, trying to get it higher than the $95,051 print from earlier this morning. What else is looking good here? Still waiting to see if OLB does that breakout move or not. Kit. Glad we didn't do anything with this one. There wasn't much to be had here. Pony, kind of looking like Kit. Might find some support at the 200 EMA, which is at about 788. Looks like SES came down to the 65 EMA. Might be getting some support there, but it is beneath the VWAP right now.
James, I love this. By the way, on MSTR here, where's Jamie Dimon at? I miss Jamie Dimon. We need to get Jay Dimon back in here. I don't know where he's going. MSTR, consensus expected earnings at an 11-cent loss, which is much closer to that positive earnings flip that we're all waiting here, MSTR. Oh. But James saying he's using this as a Bitcoin proxy. I do like that. Doesn't always follow it exactly, but it's pretty good.
Use something, get some exposure to it. I prefer it.
Fred's here mentioning SoFi. This was another, by the way, we were talking about SPACs the other day. Here was another successful one. The Chamath SPAC. This actually a nice little rip here. This has been on a fairly nice run off this consolidation area here, just shy of 11.
STFU, I'm really getting concerned about this 34 rejection. If this current 5-minute candle that we're in closes with another upper shadow like the previous two, that could be the indication that we need to be more cautious, as it might go lower and lose VWAP. Just need to see how this current candle closes. But if we manage to break through 34 in this current candle, might end up seeing 36 or more.
I am still seeing Tesla calls go up. The 265 strike has now moved to the 270 strike. We're 269. They're still sweeping these calls. This was a monster move here in Tesla. Just a huge, huge move on volume here, just wrecking shorts. I own SoFi at 4 in my IRA. In my IRA. That is awesome.
Wrecking shorts. Looks like SES trying to recover VWAP. Let's see what ends up happening with that.
Uber 8050 continue. This is a day for Izzy. Day for Izzy.
UPXI with a move over VWAP. Keep an eye on this one. It could get going.
That was almost at one of those breakout levels too, was it not?
Yeah.
Oh, it actually, no, yeah, no, here, this is it, right? We had this at what? Well, yeah, I mean, it's still 20. It's still 20. It's 20.
But what I'm saying is look at the 5-minute chart or from today. This is trying to break over 1743. Yep. It looks like
the day high.
Yeah. Yep.
RTC, that penny stock that you guys were mentioning earlier, up 90% here. So I know I'm not a big fan of penny stocks, and I have them filtered out of the scanner here. But this, if you trade these little guys, this one's working.
Yep. I'm just waiting for this UPXI move over 1743. It looks like it's trying to do. There we go. We just got a little bit of a higher print. We're going here. UPXI.
Tesla 271. My God, that move. Fun morning so far. I got to be honest.
It has been. It's been a good Friday, and that was last week.
Took me a sec. I got it. How's TEM doing? That was another hot one here earlier. That and Grail, right? TEM actually back to the highs that it set yesterday. How's Grail doing, Jay? Grail, a little bit of a pullback here, but really no breakdown after that really nice move recently. Boy, it has a 10, 11 point move, and it hasn't really given anything back. Here's your charter.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got a nice breakout in Bitcoin over that 95,000. Took us up to 95,436. Pulling back a little bit, but still above the breakout level. If we continue to hold up here, it looks like we may end up going on a little bit more of a run. Meanwhile, some of these other speculative names, like all the drones, quantums, space, and nuclears, they're starting to get weak here.
Mark, this was a really good reminder here. TSLL, we've talked about this one a lot. The direction shares, I think Ed actually talked about this the last time we had him on here as well. TSLL, really inexpensive stock price wise, way to play the Tesla move, levered 2x to the upside. This is having a great day. Yeah, Jay, this is exactly the point here, Jay, and I'm glad that you're making it, pounding the table here. Tesla, what does it tell you? The worst report in years, and it's been straight up since that report. That tells me that we are likely at the bottom.
All that tells me is that you're not trading Tesla for anything else, nothing else than Elon Musk. That's what you're trading when you buy and sell Tesla. You're not doing anything else with you're not trading the company. You're not trading the cars, the robots, nothing. You're trading Elon Musk.
IONQ here. This was a pop above 31, almost to 32. We've come back in a little. Did we have any news on IONQ? Yes, we did. IONQ announces a $22 million deal with EPB, establishing Chattanooga, Tennessee, as the first quantum computing and networking hub. Lion, I expect a boots on the ground report from you ASAP. Alex, this is actually a pretty good newsprint. Looks like the first reaction there was to drive this thing higher. This is one of the reasons why you got to be very careful and very tactical if you're playing some of these short-term moves. There's a nice move higher here, but a pretty substantial pullback.
STFU, that's the whole reason it's moving. I know he said he was stepping back to the company. That is the whole reason it's moving. Oh, I don't think it's the technical. It's really with it could be some of that, for the price action and the trading. But the only reason, in my opinion, where this thing is moving like it is because it's all because of Elon Musk. If he never said anything about coming back from Doge during that earnings that conference call, Tesla would be down.
Yeah, and you know what? To kind of steel man your point there, we saw the big tick up after that print when he said that. So I know exactly why you're saying that, and we actually saw some price action that supported that. Dan here in the chat saying Musk, not a bad bet. That's where I sit. I know that there's some political back and forth, and it rubs people the wrong way, and that's fine. I'm not going to change anyone's mind on that. But look, dude, I'm just not in the habit of betting against American geniuses. I'm not. Sorry.
Look at where did Tesla start turning around?
Bye, Al. We're not doing spam here. Sorry. Take your spam somewhere else.
Where did Tesla start turning around? It was shortly after the election, when we knew he was going to be in Doge, and ever since he started in that government position, the stock price of Tesla went down, down, down. Now, to Jay Rice's point, it did hit a pretty key area where we've had support kick in before. So there is that as well. But I think it's just timely that he during the report that he mentioned that he was coming back, and now the stock's starting to rip back up. Haven't gone back up to the highs we had from March, so that could still be a resistance area. But it's really easy to see that when he started going into the government business, Tesla went down. Now he's talking about getting out of it and going back to Tesla. What's the stock doing? It's turning back up.
Turning back up. Yep, you're absolutely right there. Real quick here, Britt. Hey, Ryan, my target for, by the way, Archer here trading back up towards the intraday highs. That might be something to watch. Britt, hey, my target for Sound is around 12 to 13. In February, it topped out a bunch around that level. What do you guys think? Okay, so using the Mark Petrino school of thought here, Britt, I think you're paying attention. That's what I think here. Here's your 12 spot. So this is actually a really interesting trade here, Britt, because the way that you asked for what I think, this is what I think. First of all, your 12 spot here looks really good, right? This is clearly where this thing topped out before. Also, we've got a gap here, right? So a break above 12, you actually might have a gap fill up to 14 and a half. So using Mark Petrino's or the lessons that we just heard from Mark earlier today, might be that a trigger, or here's your setup. The trigger might be a break of that 12 to the upside. You might want to use trailing stops on a gap fill on the way up. But this is kind of what I'm looking at for those spots. This is what I would think on that.
UPXI on the move over 18. Almost hit 19. Now it's pulling.
Lower to the channel.
Omex is trying to recapture its VWAP.
Yeah, Jay, I don't know if you were here. We actually covered this a little bit yesterday. Lower end of the channel. Gordon Johnson lowered his price target to 18. I think it was 1905. And I think it came from like 2480, just very, very odd price levels. Looked at, I don't, look, he's a successful man, but he has been wrong on Tesla forever. Forever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with some of the folks here with the vehicles themselves. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Cybertruck at all. They have some good vehicles. I will admit to that, but it seems like electric's kind of out of favor right now.
Market's selling off here, by the way.
Good.
544 on the SPY. I don't have anything since the Michigan consumer sentiment from April. Again, that print was 52.2 versus the 50.8. We talked about the cooking that might have been going on here. I don't see any other news here. Let me take a look at the Twitter streets.
So do you have that trend line that I had you draw on the SPY that kind of indicates the downtrend that we're in?
Let me see. It might be on one or the other chart. Let's take a look.
Not on that one.
No, this is an uptrend. Let me check my bigger chart here real fast. I might still have that. I also might have had that drawing deleted by accident, but let's see. Yep, here's the trend that you were talking about. And this is the test. I covered this morning. Oh, I love this 13. Go off, King.
I don't think I need to. It just speaks for itself.
I had said earlier that the two of the key downside levels that we would be watching here today were going to be that trend line, and I eyeballed it by putting the cursor there, called it, I think, 544. That's where we're at right now. The 20-day was the other one we talked about. That's 534.35. Entire market is pulling here. SPY, Dow, NASDAQ, IWM. Breath had flipped from green to negative here. Q's the only thing hanging on to some green breath.
Big move in SQQQ. And it seems to be, let's see, we're still running into a bit of a resistance area with the SQQQ, just over 33. So it looks like 33.25 was the pre-market high there. So could see a breakout at that level if the market continues to weaken. But there is also a little bit of a downtrend or a trend line that we can draw from the lows that we were experiencing this morning. Looks like they also caught some support from some of these lows in the pre-market as well. It's still kind of sideways, but I think that 33.25 level, that's going to be interesting for a breakout. Let's see if we end up getting that here.
Robert, we'll take this. I'm out of everything and I have surpassed my daily goal. Thank you, Ryan 13 and everyone else. Peace out. Robert, man, have a great weekend, dude. You had a great week here. We appreciate all of your support. Really good stuff here today. That's great to hear.
Yep. Take care, Robert.
Britt, I'm glad somebody liked that.
Zahor, I have some short positions, but I'm mostly long in this market for long term. I just want some lower prices so I can get some deals. You know what I mean? I want some deals. That's why I was liking Google down in the 150s and 140s. I think those are some deal spots. Trump's not the only one that likes deals.
I want to hear about your big, beautiful backyard project with the Trump hyperbole when it's all done.
Nobody's ever seen this one like before.
That's actually not terrible. I don't have a good Trump impression. That one's not bad.
We used to have great backyards. This last administration took all the great backyards away. We're going to bring backyards back. It's gonna be
we're
beautiful.
having fun on a Friday. Hello, Mike. Oh, Mike. Good to see you.
Here goes SQQQ moving up to the 33.25 level.
I was just going to say it too. We're actually starting to see some of these short instruments now appear on the relative volume upside scanner here. 544 is still being hung on to here on the SPY, but I agree with I think it was Amanda that said it earlier. Feels heavy. I know we pulled here. It still does feel kind of heavy.
Yep. Let's see here what's going on with these names. Looks like OLB still trying to, and it has been having a hard time trying to get go any higher than 209. That consolidation from the pre-market really keeping it from going higher, but still plenty of day left.
You know what? Omex here. This has not really moved from that VWAP. It's got a bunch of these wicks, but it hasn't broken down yet. It's trying. The volume is really compressed. So one of the triggers here for a potential new trade would be some expansion on that volume if we get it.
Here goes Omex with trying to recapture the VWAP again, dealing with that large seller at 161 again with his hundreds of thousands of shares.
He's moving it around too, isn't he? Because I feel like I see this moving around a little bit on
he's having fun.
Okay.
He's having fun because yes, it was when we were over that level that you could see that his bid came in down there. So I don't know exactly what he's doing. Maybe he's just playing both sides, and he's just a really big player in this. So
Gary here is saying we need some deals. 13. So we actually did hear some talk. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, so I'm just going to paraphrase here. But it came from Trump, so take it with a grain of salt. But he was saying that they have a bunch of deals ready. We just don't know about them yet. Again, that came from the Time interview. I was reading from some of the people that I follow here, and they're not like mainstream TV talking heads, but they're people that really follow the stuff pretty closely. And a couple of things. The one thing about these deals, especially since we haven't heard them, and they were talking about Trump possibly meeting Xi in the early parts of May. Trump must be confident and have other deals in hand if he's going to do that meeting, because he's going into that meeting holding max leverage, or he wants to anyway. Keep that in mind. Those countries now be even more motivated to strike deals so that they're not somehow boxed out by a U.S.-China deal. And what they're saying there is that, if they go to this meeting and all of a sudden things are good, and now China and the U.S. have some big, beautiful trade deal here, other countries might be boxed out of that. I suspect we are going to hear some of that. We're probably going to hear it all together. Can't tell you when that's going to be. Can't promise that I'm right.
We're watching UPXI. This thing.
Okay, let me bring it up.
This thing well into 19, looking for 20. Great mention. There's several people that have been mentioning this. I don't know everybody, but everybody, Kathy, I think there
Britt.
Everybody mentioning UPXI. Well done. I hope you guys made some great money off this.
And Ryan here, really good point. You can't do a trade deal in a week. Indeed, but this kind of leads to, remember, the administration has been telling us that they've been working on these. People don't tend to believe them, but they've been saying that, and they have been saying that for several weeks. No, again, we'll see how it all shakes out. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but we're going to react to it, whatever we end up getting.
People can take both sides of that, and that's fine. This is why we have a market. I'm totally on board with everybody saying whether they're on one side or the other.
Yep,
I love it.
By the way, those Tesla. So Tesla's kind of stopping here on that huge bullish move. We are kind of bull flagging up here. I did notice here the Tesla, the repeat sweeps that we kept seeing over and over again, those have quieted down. So maybe we did reach the Glenn, are you still out there? You gave me a fib level on Tesla earlier, and I think it was right up here by 270. Remind me what that fib level was, Glenn. I'll try and find it here, but I think that was a while ago, and I don't know if I'm going to be successful in finding it. No, Glenn, the last comment there I saw is the Cybertruck is a POS, here we go. Tesla 618 fib level 272.52. Boy, oh boy, was that close, Glenn. And look, we're ticking up now. I swear to God, Glenn, if we go exactly to that level and stop there, I might need to do like a private lesson on your Fibonacci drawing, if that's the case, because your fibs are locked in, bro. Locked in.
Smoke Tuna with a great comment. I mentioned something to this effect yesterday toward the end of the show, but learn some of these chart patterns. They really are helpful in helping determine entries and exits and whether or not you want to trade something or not.
And guys, just as I said that the Tesla sweeps were dying down, my entire tool filled with Tesla sweeps.
It's almost like it works.
It's almost like it works, and it's still ripping to the upside. 272.52, Glenn. That's my next target here. It's your target. I think that's where we're going next.
Stay on target.
Stay on target. Okay, 13. I'll be right back. It'll only take me a second.
Well, he goes, so will the volume in this market, as it is now 10:30, and folks are starting to get up from their desks. We may see a decrease in volume from here going into the lunch hour. Just have that in the back of your heads. Looks like CEP took another drop beneath its VWAP, close to the 65 EMA on the 5-minute, trying to find some support here. Been really good trading with CEP. That $34 level has been a really good spot for taking profit, as we've been trading slightly over it, which is enough to have some more of these orders filled. So hopefully folks are making some really good money with that. And UPXI, 1958 current high with that one. Looks like we're starting to come down here in UPXI. I see support at 1750, so we'll see if that ends up kicking in. That was already support once in this regular session after we broke. So it was the high. 1750 was a high. We came back underneath VWAP, broke out above it, took out 1750, and when we started to come back in at about 1025, that's when we got that support from 1750. So we're going to want to see that kick in again if we do get that downside move. OLB moving over its VWAP. This is still trying to get going here. Consolidation from in the 2 handle, though, is still having me worry. But if we get an increase in volume, we could chew through all that again, just like we did earlier. And it's looking like it's setting up to do that exactly with this these staircase moves it's been taking up.
I'm sorry. I'm sitting here in amazement. 272.58 was the high print there on Tesla. We are right at Glenn's level, plus or minus 10 cents. Glenn, dude.
Don't get canceled. Is cancel culture still a thing? Oh, look at
Who's going to cancel you?
I don't know.
I was going to say, you tell me, and them's fighting words, and we'll turn on the war machine. Ain't nobody canceling my partner. Get out of here with that.
I didn't realize cancel culture was still around.
Maybe it isn't. I'm just saying. You're not going down without a fight for me. That's for sure.
All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The big knife in OLB. So that one not looking great. Looks like Kit's trying to turn around. Pony not doing the same thing.
I take
RCL.
one quick glance at Twitter and I see a tweet that says biggest draft day winners and the Packers are at the top of the list. And I instantly had a little Amanda on my shoulder cackling and laughing at me. So that just happened. You'll be happy to know.
Oh, I'm going to have some fun reading this afternoon.
OLB knife. Oh, no.
Yeah, I did.
Is it broadsword or a knife? Okay, so it's just kind of
it's more of a knife.
Looks like it is stopping here at the 65 EMA on the 5. That's been a popular EMA here.
It is.
SXTC at the top of the. Oh my, Brits on this one. Did we have news on this, or is this just no news on this move? Looks like this is volume induced. This was a nice little staircase up, little consolidation here at 2, and bang, right through it.
Well, I got levels on this one. 270 is one level, actually. 310 is the next one, followed by 380. Looks like SES is starting to break down. This one may be about finished. Let's see if it can find some support about 105.
Tesla, dude. Tesla. Oh, I can't even type. Here is your Tesla move. Oh my God. The short destroyer. Tesla plus 5.7% here.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I said.
He's kidding. I think NVS has got a sense of humor.
Don't overdo the jokes. Well, I'll have producer tell me when I overdo it.
You're in good luck because producer is on vacation today. Well, that is why that happened.
Well, let me open up my manual.
Well, now that you mention it.
The chains are off. Let's go.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Oh, look at this one. AGRI. This has been trading.
Tuna called that a few days ago, I believe.
Well done, Tuna. Why have you been hitting us over the head with this one this morning, man? I'm just messing with you. It's up 18%. Oh, it was a second ago until I just made that move. But 217 is the high.
Guess what? Soundhound. Hey, Britt. I know we had that little pop and pullback here, but we've held it, and we're actually trying to reclaim the VWAP. Soundhound calls, 950 calls, 200 of them. These expire in June. And it's not that huge. It's not the hugest trade there, really only 30 grand, but that's the only one I see. But nonetheless.
Looks like market might be getting a little weak again.
So Lion here saying he thinks Tesla is extended. Is anyone looking for a short position here now that we've kind of hit that level, hit that fib level? Here's the breakout that we're looking at. Let me actually go to the bigger chart because I got some more levels. Excuse me. I've got some more levels there on that.
Green Bay already had 13 wide receivers. Yeah, we had to know. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's okay. One of them blew their knee up, though. So, like I said, that Golden kid is really a good player. He's a good player and a young guy, and apparently he's a dog with a huge work ethic. So I think that was a really good pick. I kind of wanted him myself, frankly. Anyway, Tesla here moving above the 50-day moving average. We had that at 270.36 here, maybe call it 270.50, but this is a nice move. Next here, we have the trend line that is in sight. Lion, I would say that this is probably going to be your next resistance area here. 281 and change is what I've got on that. Eli says he's shorting TSLL. So on the extended move here, looking to take advantage by using the levered ETF. There's a inverse one, right? The TSLQ. Am I getting that right? TSLQ. Yes. Here's your short ETF. 2x short Tesla ETF. So this is one that you could actually go long on to capture that same down move if you didn't want to short TSLL. Actually, for the first time in a little bit now, seeing some Tesla puts come in. These are also the short-dated variety. You guys were not alone. That's amazing. You folks were not alone on that Tesla extension call. We are now starting to see some put trades come in. Short-term, the ones that expired today, 270, 250, that strike right around that fib level.
UPXI with a new high, 1970. Still looking like it's trying to print higher. Mike is saying that, hey, 13 Orion, I rate Rogue One a top 3 Star Wars movie. I'm not upset with that.
I was going to say, my opinion on this is going to surprise you. I want you to finish up though.
Oh, well, I think it was probably one of the better modern Star Wars movies to come out. Donnie Yen, yeah, he's great. He kind of had a little bit of a silly part, but yes, I'm one of the force of the forces with me, right? Yeah. But I like the overall movie. I thought it was a really good movie. Just kind of like a behind the scenes of what's going on with the real overall, the Skywalker story.
I would say this, and I know this is going to kind of surprise you given some of the talk that we've had about Star Wars and Disney and the whole 9 yards. To me, I would put Rogue One as the 4th best Star Wars movie because I just can't possibly rate any better than the initial trilogy. So in my opinion, it's Empire, New Hope, Return of a Jedi, 1, 2, 3. But after that, I completely agree with you. Of all of the new Star Wars movies, the only good one was Rogue One. And I would rate that as the 4th best Star Wars movie. I really enjoyed that way more than I thought. I went in with kind of a negative disposition, like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this. And I left being like, wow, they did it. They did make a good one. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that too.
Yep, they couldn't duplicate that magic for some reason. But
anyway. So Star Wars Day's coming up here. Should we do anything for? Oh, it's Sunday. Damn. It's not this Sunday. It's next Sunday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
What does that mean? The Monday Revenge of the Sith?
Maybe. By the way, I'm going to give another one up here for Izzy. You were rocking Uber. This did come back here. By the way, if you had used Mark Petrino's trailing stop, you might have been able to book this gain on your own. Maybe it's not that much of a move up, but anyway.
SXTC, a lot of mention about it. That's almost up to that 310 level. We blew through some of these other ones I had mentioned, but 310 is the next one on my radar here. After that, we have another level at 380 and then 480 after that.
Okay. Ryan here says, I thought Andor, the series, was great compared to the other ones released. I haven't seen it, but I've actually been hearing from people whose opinion I do really respect. They have said the exact same thing. They have said Andor is great.
Well done, Crow, on UPXI. That just went over 20, and now it looks like it's starting to pull, but it's still above 20 for the moment.
So that was, I'll tell you what, this UPXI, we've had a lot of good calls here from the chat. UPXI, this was a really good mover here. UPXI, Tesla, I think Omex gave us a pretty decent move there. Not bad.
No.
Congrats on anyone that was trading these. SXTC, that was a really good pop there. Congrats. Here are some of those other Tesla. Yep, here are some of the other Tesla TSLT. Okay, so these are just the other brand of the ETFs granted shares. The 2X long are all here. Okay. Tesla, by the way, 277. Oh my God. What a move in Tesla.
Oh, yeah. Starting to look around here to see what else we got going on. Bitcoin is trying to go back and forth between that 95,000 level.
Bitcoin's strength is impressive to me. I'm still sitting for the open order for 70K. I'll let you know if and when I cancel it, but the strength here has been impressive. It really has kind of decoupled from the market. Still seeing more Tesla calls. God, I'm seeing December 19th Tesla 500 calls going off here. That's a double from where we're at.
Really?
Yep. Multiple sweeps on that. 109 on the first one, 109 on the second one. Looks like they got filled at different prices too. $250,000 trade there, but with those two combined.
All right. Well, I want to see it.
Crocodile Dumb Me says Star Wars Jar Jar movie sucked, but Darth Maul was the best villain. I'll be honest with you. When I first saw that movie, I left that movie thinking the only thing that was good about this was Darth Maul was a complete badass, and the lightsaber fighting leveled up like 3 levels from the original series. Like, they were incredible. So I'm with you on that.
I'm okay with the prequels. Those are all George Lucas made. If he wants to have a goofy character, he can have a goofy character as long as he doesn't put him in all 3 of the films, which he did.
He went ahead and did that.
Well, I mean, he didn't put him in all 3 of the films, is what I'm saying. There was a brief presence in the later 2, but for the most part, Jar Jar was out of it. And I think that really is important because he listened to the fans. Don't put Jar Jar back in there and make him a key, have a lot of speaking lines. He just, basically started the whole, collapse of the Senate. Anyway, we're getting into some more that really doesn't matter.
That's what happens on a Friday. That is what happens. By the way, you guys are mentioning NVIDIA here. Pete looking at NVIDIA here. I am seeing some NVIDIA call flow going on. It has not been nearly as prominent as the Tesla call flow today, but it's there. And it is moving here. Tech still kind of the cues here, just barely green here, holding on to 0.1% gain here. I haven't seen any really big tape bombs on Twitter here today.
Does that make you nervous?
No, it's just an observation. Boy, the analyst that they have on CNBC has got a tan. That dude has been on the beach. T-Mobile still holding down here, 10.5%. Did anyone add to T-Mobile? We knew we were asking about that earlier. Did anyone take a long-term? Boy, this is still hunting for a lower price level. T-Mus. I love democracy. Palpatine becomes emperor. I was like, what is 13 typing here? And then I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yep. SES, here we go with some loss of some levels. Looks like this is heading towards $1. Shorting airlines, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. They're all thinking that they're going to see some lower traffic. United Airlines giving you two different outcomes. That doesn't instill confidence from investors, really. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Real quick here, Sebastian, great to see you again. It's a Faloona Friday. Am I right, boss? Anyway, you're asking here, where do you guys see the bottom on Bull, ticker BULL? Okay, well, I don't know where the bottom is, so let me just get that out there right away. But just kind of looking at the chart here, I think there's two interesting things that you can take a look at. This $16 level, which is the end of the IPO day, you might get a bounce here, but you also might get a bounce at the bottom of that candle at about $13.50. So I would say that the near-term bottom that you could probably try and play is going to be somewhere between $13.50 and $16. That's what I'd be looking at. Now, we're working off a very limited set of data here. This is a recent IPO, so there's only so much we can do. But looking at the chart here, this is what I would say to that, Sebastian. 13, if you've got anything on this, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'd like to see the gap fill.
So you'd like to see it completely fill this gap down to 16?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. There you go.
That's what I'd like to see. Who's talking about that, Lion? And then I saw, let's see.
God, UPXI.
There was another mention here. Oh, Crocodile Done Me, dude. That was the Young Princess Leia show featuring Obi-Wan, is what it was. Let's be clear. Oh, I see what you're saying. So, okay. Nobody. I got you now. Yeah, pony down. Because we're not ponying up anymore.
I was going to say you don't want to pony up anymore. Soundhound, by the way, still curling back towards that high. Watch that $9.95, $10 high there.
CEP lost its VWAP trying to recapture. If it cannot recapture VWAP here, I think it's going to go on to lose the 65 EMA. UPXI 2253. Man, this thing is just nonstop this morning. Well, it had a brief break, but whew, this thing's on fire right now. No idea where it goes. Could try and figure it out. Let's see. Where do you want to go, UPXI? It already went past that that crazy move that we had last, what was it? I think Monday. So we're beyond that now. There is a gap to fill in the from about the 22 and a quarter all the way up to within the 25 to 26 handle. There's a potential gap fill with UPXI if it breaks over 225.
Sorry, I'm just looking at something here, trying to answer an email real quick.
I didn't hear the news about a German citizen being held for a whole day in the airport. I'm pretty sure I saw that movie. Was it being held in the terminal? All right, what else we got here? Looks like UPXI is halted. halted to the downside. Maybe,
oh no.
Yeah, it had a really nice pop up to 22.53, and now we're halted to the downside.
Okay. Mo says, you guys rock. So do you.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
STFU is just out here. Half an hour ago, I predicted Tesla going to 277.92 today as last night based on technical analysis. This is a Facebook profile that you're linking here. Where do we get to on Tesla? 278.18. Boy, that was pretty close.
Pretty damn close.
Pretty close.
I need to appear on Kill Tony. I could probably put together a 1 minute set.
And aren't you not far from? Oh, I guess no, that's in Austin. I was going to say, aren't you not far from the mothership, the comedy club?
That's like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour.
Okay, 2
drive.
hours away. That's not really all that. Close.
I've driven plenty of times to Austin. It's not a bad drive. Oh, pot names running.
Are they? I didn't see any of those take off, but I guess it's possible.
Well, I was just reading what the chat was saying here. Crow was mentioning to Mike that pot name's running ACB CGC. What's Tilray doing? Tilray up 1.5%. Meanwhile, CGC up 8.5 almost.
13. I'm going to do my last step away here.
Right.
Just 1 second.
Okay, no problem. SXTC, this is still holding above VWAP. I don't know if it's going to go on to try and test 3 again, but it's trying to hold above there. SES, nothing there right now. RZLV, looks like that's trying to turn around. Not liking the volume though. Pony going sideways. KIT, same thing. OLB, trying to hold above its 65 EMA on the 5 minute, but it looks like if it can't get back above VWAP, this may end up losing that EMA as well. And
going to roll through the list here. Gree, you guys were mentioning that one. That's higher. That's been a staircase all day. KIT might be curling here and coming back. RZLV didn't. That was kind of a bummer. Jay, your EAF from a while ago, this got cut in half here.
When it comes to Gree, there could be some resistance up towards the 150 to 165 area. Just looking to the left and looking where we were having support previously. In that small 15-cent range, there was some bottoming action before it lost that level this year in January. So on the way back up, I'd keep an eye on that 150 to 165 area for Gree, GREE.
Okay. Still seeing some option flow there on Tesla, but it looks to be a little bit of both.
UPXI is another Mullen. Perfect. Let's not hold this thing and just trade it.
Did Mullen have delivery news today?
I don't know.
Yeah, let me look here real quick.
Yeah, Pony just continuing to make new lows.
No, okay, they didn't. No.
I don't see more support kicking in for Pony until probably underneath the 7 handle.
Hey, look at AGRI, Tuna's call. That actually had a big volume stick after we talked about it the first time today.
There we go. Looks like
Bitcoin's still holding up here at about 96K and the VIX chilling at 26.
I was just going to say Bitcoin looking like it's back over 95,000, getting some higher prints here. Current high is 95,708. Oh, look, that really junky China name, WNW, that's up today. Just got some volume in the past 15 minutes here. What else?
Is there an ETF for airlines? Yes, line. It's called JETS, 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 in the theme of the draft here. JETS, US Global Jets ETF.
Ooh, that looks ugly. That's a bad looking death cross there. But
here's your daily.
To Do we have it? Is there like a leverage ETF for airlines?
I was hoping that nobody was going to ask me that follow up because I don't know.
So I'm the one that had to do it then. Somebody had to do it.
Look,
I am the chosen one.
Your question is a good one. Airlines ETF list. Here you go. I'm going to share this with you. This comes from Vetify. Jets, Jet D, and Jet U. These are the 3x levered inverse and regular ETFs. Your question is answered. Jet D, Jet U.
Oh, that's easy. Thank you.
You got it.
On behalf of everybody that wanted to know.
I like when things are easy. Ryan here saying Mullen delivery news always seems to be one vehicle, haha, or a pilot program.
Yeah, they just did a prototype.
Exactly.
And they delivered it. Can you look at ARAB?
Yeah, we have a number of times, Shamir. We'll do it again. Let's see what's going on with ARAB. Yikes, giving it up, down. The double top.
So down to that consolidation in the pre-market from yesterday. So, but this looks like it's kind of maybe putting in some kind of a bear flag potentially. Volume's not great in this one. I don't know if we've are seeing a bottom being put in yet or not. I wouldn't bet on a bottom quite yet. It's possible, but I would just look to the left for some levels. And right now, it came down to that consolidation from the pre-market yesterday. And there's also some other levels you can draw upon from the price action a couple days ago. So I'd be looking at those levels. It looks like the 333 could be another support area to the downside. But even though I'm not certain that we'll see that hold up.
One more thing to keep in mind here. I know we were talking a lot about the market, what it's going to do here going forward. Here's a look at your intraday chart on the SPY. One of the things that you'll notice is on this 5-minute chart, we have now made a series of lower highs. And this really kind of feeds into our thesis that the market might sell off here going into the weekend. I know Lion was calling for a rug pull, the whole 9 yards. Tell you what, chart formation intraday looking like that's pretty good so far.
Ever since, if you go to a SPY chart, like a 5-minute, and you look at the price action just from the pre-market on, you can draw a trend line from all the highs that we made, and the price has not been able to get above that trend line. You could start all the way back from 425, that high. There you go. So we break that, probably go higher. We don't, we go lower.
Okay.
Yeah, China junk is running today, isn't it?
All right. And folks, just as a reminder for the content going forward here today, 13 and I are done here in 4 minutes at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're actually going to be going over to Paulo, who's filling in here for Sandy. No Anne-Marie today or next week. We're going to be getting Anne-Marie back on here in very short order when she wraps up her vacation. But we are going to have a guest here on right at 11.
Excellent.
Trading Made Simple. We will be going to that after this. Intel breaking out. We actually took a look at Intel earlier. We mentioned how that support level, that 19 support level is really, really strong. Lo and behold, it held it again.
It sure did.
Held it again.
So it seems like that's a bit of a base for that for now. It still has some things that it needs to do, but it looks like it's just kind of consolidating right now. It needs to recapture that 20-day SMA after it just lost it over the earnings. But this bottom where all the price action has been getting support down around about the 1850, going as low as 1969, 1967. So that was the low that we've had as of this month, and it's a recent low, the lowest we've had since, gosh, 2012, I think. But need to see some of these moving averages get recaptured. It's just been kind of sideways for almost an entire year now.
Dan, take care of yourself. Thanks for the kind words. Gary, same deal. Thanks for the kind words. Sebastian, promise me you'll have a good weekend. STFU saying Anne-Marie is putting all the shrimps on the bobby. She probably is. She probably is. I can't wait to check in and see how that trip was with her. S&P futures here again, kind of stalling after that recent pump to the highs. And again, a lower high on that. Intel holding 20 so far.
Elon saying the BOS analyst just still not confirmed downside, still chance for upside to tag the 50 EMA on daily SPY. Let me look and see what he's referring to. Don't use the 50 EMA, but put one up. I'll take a look at what you're looking at.
Anand, you're welcome. Thank you. Lion, have a good weekend.
Take care, Lion.
Izzy, that Uber reversal, man, that was a really good trade early. You've got Uber dialed in there. All right, 13, let's start wrapping here. Let's see how much time do we have left here.
Okay,
I just want to make sure we're nice here. Yeah, let's start wrapping after you go over what you got.
Yeah, so just real quick on that 50 EMA on the daily for SPY, that puts the level that it could reach up at about 555. I've got that little marked off. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I feel like this downtrend that we've established already is the thing that we're going to need to watch for. That 50-day SMA could probably end up getting hit if we start closing over this trend line. But until that happens, I'm not sure that we'll see that. So that's what I'd be watching for first is some more closes over the downtrend line that we have in SPY on the daily chart.
Okay. All right. 13, any closing words for the group? I just want to start by saying great job here this week. We've really had kind of a great week here with the group. And
it has been
part of that.
It has been a great week, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody that's in the chat for coming in and sharing ideas and trading with you. It's been fun. And I look forward to next week too, because we're going to have a lot of information that's going to send these markets into a frenzy. And we're going to trade that frenzy, and we're going to make money. It's going to be a fun time, just like it was this week. Have a good weekend, folks. I'll see you then.
All right. Sounds good, 13. Thanks again. We will check.
I think he took himself
I do this all the time. I take the wrong person off. It's like, Ryan, what are you doing? See, this is why I need producer to be around, because I end up messing it up. 13, take care of yourself. Have a great weekend.
Goodbye.
And we got the right person removed there. Okay, 13's departure leaves room for Paulo from Trading Made Simple. Paulo, happy Friday. How you doing, man?
Hello, Ryan. Nice to meet you. Can you hear me successfully?
It sounds like you're in the room with me, boss. I hear you great.
All right, perfect. Nice to meet you, Ryan. Good morning, and good morning to everyone in the chat room as well. So I'm Paulo. I would be replacing Sandra for today. And I work as a technical analyst for Trading Made Simple, where we also do everyday live morning sessions, as well as we set some automated trades for the week. So today I will be replacing, and we are going to run some technical analysis and see where the market is located, if we might have already seen a potential bottom with this strong recovery we are seeing through April, or if maybe could be the case that this could still be viewed as a bear market rally and the market might be ready for a final wave lower. So we do have some mixed.
So Paulo, real quick, can you share your charts here so I can let you take over?
Let me share here my screen.
No problem. Ryan, take care of yourself. Average options, take care of yourself. Bernhard, take care of yourself. Paulo, here we go. I'm going to throw you up on the screen here. Trading Made Simple with Paulo starts right now.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, so good morning, traders, and let's run some technical analysis and see what we can expect from the market in the upcoming weeks. All right, so the market is currently located in a very important place right now, and we are going to start today with the S&P 500 on the weekly time frame. We are also going to view other indices such as the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, Max 7, and some potential stock picks. We're going to be comparing timeframes in between 4-hour timeframes and a weekly timeframe, as we currently have some divergences between these timeframes, which make it currently a bit hard to recognize if the market might have bottom or not. But there are some very important bullish and bearish signals that traders and investors should focus on to recognize if the bottom could be in or not. All right, so first I will start here with the S&P 500 on the weekly time frame, and we have a very important structure. Let me actually maximize this window. We are going to need a lot of space, and this is the S&P 500 on the weekly time frame. All right, as a technical analyst, I like to combine many different techniques, such as Elliott waves, such as stock pattern, candlesticks, indicators as well. And of course, keeping in mind the fundamentals, the social part of the market, what is going on, right, on the economy, on the politics, So keeping all that in mind is that I am currently watching this macro structure that goes all the way back to 2018 and 2020. So the longer the structures, the stronger they are, right? Structures on weekly, monthly, or even 6-month timeframes are harder to break and are more respected than structures on the hourly, maybe the 30, 15-minute, or the 5-minute. Of course, those are very important for intraday trading, right? For ideal entries and exits. But for macro analysis, I personally like to start with the weekly time frame. All right, so what do we have here? Well, we have under different strategies, we have many important things. So first, I would like to show our ascending channel. And let me actually hide the other ones. We have here some. All right, this one seems good. So as we can see, the market under that correction, almost a bear market, it was actually a bear market in the pre-market after the Liberation Day on April 2nd with Trump's tariffs. The market had a massive, massive crash here. But we also had a strong rejection, and we can see how the S&P 500 had a very strong bounce from 4,800. And 4,800 is the bottom on this ascending channel that has a 6-year validation. We can see how the ascending channel also works on the top, right? It marked the top on 2018, which didn't necessarily bring a whole correction. Actually, the correction came 2 years after, but it did mark the top here through 2021. And yes, it was not actually retested for 2025, but we are having a very strong bounce here from the support. So from this perspective, from this channel, we are seeing a strong probability that the market might have already bottomed at 4,800, only by viewing that perspective. This would actually align here with the 2021 top, also located at 4,800. Additionally, we can see how the market had here a double top. We lost our structure, our wedge pattern, but that remains in the past. Now what we want to see is if this could have been a potential bottom or not. What I don't like, if I would like to be a bull and have a lot of confidence in a potential recovery and maybe even discuss all-time highs, I would have likened this, the market to actually test the 200 moving average, which wasn't the case right now. Let me 1 second show you only the 200 moving average. And we can see how the 200 moving average on the weekly time frame has been a very important bottoming place in the past. On all the secular bull market we are since the financial crisis, we're going to see it. So on 2022, on the bear market bottom on the 200 moving average. On the COVID crash, we actually had an initial break below this level, but we were fast to recover and signal all this new brand bull market. On 2018, we actually had the bottom as well as on 2016 here. And once we actually recover it after the 2008 crash here, we also formed the bottom on 2011 here. So from that perspective, when I actually realized that, 1 second, there it is, that the market was actually under a correction, my initial thoughts was that we might actually see here a retest of the 200 moving average, and that would be a great place to go long, right? It has been a very good buying opportunity on the secular bull market, but we didn't actually reach that level, all right? Additionally, we also have an Elliott wave structure going on, and we have actually 2 Elliott wave structures going on as the market is fractal, and we're going to identify them now. So after the COVID here on 2020 crash, we actually had the 2021-2022 bull market, which can be successfully labeled into a 5-wave Elliott wave count with our 3 impulsive waves higher and also our 2 corrective waves lower. This actually brought us the 2022 bear market, which is labeled as a WXYXZ correction. This is a typical corrective pattern for Elliott wave count, and it's also known as the triple combo. All right. So this brought us our 5-point Elliott wave correction. We might maybe question ourselves and say, why are you viewing this as a WXYXC instead of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave impulsive wave lower? And that is a good question, but the problem is that the wave 4 highs actually invalidated and broke above wave 1. So for an impulsive wave to meet the Elliott wave requirement in standard rules, wave 4 can never break below wave 1. So to find the correct label, I would view this as the WXYXC correction. All right. After that, we actually had here the 2023-2024 bull market, which also had important 5 waves higher here. And what additional tools can we find to counts are correct, are the correct counts, or we're just not, dropping the numbers and trying to fit this into what we see? Because in the internet we can see many additional counts. Many people, unfortunately, they just label to wherever they see, they try to fit their narrative. But we can use certain indicators, such as, for example, the RSI. So for starting an Elliott wave count, especially on a macro time frame, it is important to start on an oversold RSI level here. So as we can see, on 2020, the RSI actually on the COVID crash, we hit here the lows, right? And this is where we start our Elliott wave count. We can see how for wave 3 here, we can see here for wave 3, the RSI actually hit this higher high. But for wave 5 here, we actually saw a bearish divergence. We can compare it here when we zoom in into the RSI. We can see this bearish divergence. And that was indicating that this was the wave 5, because even though it was a higher high compared to price action on wave 3, the RSI was showing us here a bearish divergence. We can see it here. So that was an early indicator that this Elliott wave was very close to complete. Then we had the bear market, and RSI was back at the lows. What's very important on the RSI on the weekly time frame is the bullish divergence that we actually saw. So we can see the RSI was the lowest on June 2022, but the market actually bottomed on October 2022. And what did the RSI did? On a lower low on price action, the RSI actually did a bullish divergence. We can see here how the RSI actually hit 30 for that June drop. But for the market bottom, we actually hit 36. And this was the bullish divergence that was that combined, of course, with the 200 moving average, was a clear buy signal. Market was retesting the 200 moving average. We have seen how this has been a very important bottoming spot in the past on the secular bull market. And when we notice here the bullish divergence, that was a long signal. And of course, we can see how history proved that that was the correct long signal. And we started the 2023-2025 bull market. Now let me zoom here. So we can apply the same concepts here for the RSI. We can see even here, this was not considered a valid retracement, because if we want to use Fibonacci retracement and tool, which is great for validating the counts, for a retracement to be considered a corrective wave 2 or wave 4, which are the corrective structures, at least that retracement has to reach the 0.23 Fibonacci retracement. We can view this, for example, on wave 1, we actually hit, let me actually also add here the 0.38. We actually retraced to the 0.38 Fibonacci, right? But then on this wave, we didn't. Also, wave 3 cannot be the smallest of the waves. So in this case, if we would be looking here at the potential top just because of the RSI, we would be invalidating other signals. So for the wave 3 top, I'm actually looking at the July top we did here. This was actually validated with Fibonacci retracement, and we can see how once the market recovered after that correction, I think this was a 10% correction, market actually hit here bearish divergence on the RSI. So all through December, January, with the tariffs, with all that deep seek corrections and all that bearish stuff we just went through a couple months ago, that was a very early indication that the market was ready to actually retest the lows on this structure. We can see here, wave 3 high was RSI high as well. But when we were doing the wave 5 highs and higher highs, this was the bearish divergence. So then we actually came for this correction. Initially, to be honest, I was looking here at a 5-point correction, something similar to WXYXC correction. But given the fact that this has been much more faster, initially this is looking like a potential ABC correction here. All right, the bulls do have something in their favor as well, and they do have here the weekly candlestick on the volume. So we can see here this volume usually signals an important pivot zone. So we can see here this high volume on the COVID. Then even though it didn't came at the bottom, we can see this big candlestick coming in here at the bottom of this channel, right? And then we actually had all this bull market again. So what the volume is currently indicating us is that a bottom might be in. When we see the weekly chart here, it does seem much more bullish than the 4-hour time frame. In a couple of minutes, we're going to go to the 4-hour time frame, and we're going to view the chart. It's slightly, it's showing some bearish divergences compared to the weekly time frame. But here is where it actually gets interesting. All right. Technical analysis is fractal, the charts as well. So there can be patterns inside other patterns, right? So remember how Elliott wave are three impulsive waves with 2 corrective waves, right? We can see it here. 1 impulsive, 2 corrective, 3 impulsive, 4 corrective, 5 impulsive. Then we had the correction. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this can also be viewed as a more macro Elliott wave count. And this is where it really does get more interesting, because we might be about to start a final 5th wave on what we can call the COVID bull market, which would be an ascending structure. So let me show it here. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me give it another color so we can view it. I'll give it green. So do we have this bigger macro structure developing? Could this be a potential bottom, and we could be about to start a final bull market, which would be starting on the COVID crash? It could be. Elliott wave currently is signaling that possibility only if we hold here 4,800. Well, we could actually kind of we could still reach as the 200 moving average, which would not be invalidating this count because we would still be bouncing from this place. So remember, we mentioned how wave 4 can never break below wave 1. So when we were actually reaching here, to be honest, I was thinking maybe that macro Elliott wave count is not going to develop because we're getting so fast here. I'm not sure we're going to hold this here. But then we actually had this big reversal. So now it's actually looking like that macro Elliott wave structure could be going on. Still, if that is not the case, and we could have a final wave lower, I wouldn't be ruling out that macro Elliott wave scenario, as we could reach as the 200 moving average, which by that time could be actually a bit higher. We could reach the 200 moving average, let's say at 4,700, 4,750, and we would be both bouncing from the 200 moving average and still respecting the macro Elliott wave count. So the bulls do have some important bullish signals on the macro time frame, but the bears do have an important case here on the 4-hour. So on the 4-hour, we have the same structure. I'm sorry, we have the same structure here for the S&P 500 and for SPY. I would show it on SPY first. Well, I would actually show it on SPY. So for SPY, the bears, what are they saying? They're saying not so fast. And why is it not so fast? Because SPY is not yet able to break this corrective pattern. Let me first delete this. And here is what we can find. Our structure is currently a pennant pattern. We can also call it a triangle. And we can see how we had the first rejection here. On February 19th, this was the top on the market. Then we had Liberation Day, where we had a very, this was a 16% drop for the markets right on April 2nd on Liberation Day, which actually ended up being called Liquidation Day, right? Tell me if this isn't a liquidation. But then the market actually had the bounce. So where we are back, we're right here, right on the danger zone. So what the bulls want to do, the bulls want to break this resistance. And if we have a potential retest of this structure, here is where the bulls might want to go long. All right. But the bears, they're going to try to defend this with all their strength here. This is a very important zone. So additionally from that, this would be the case in which we would be going for a final wave lower. So we can view this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or X, W, X, Y, X, C as well. I'm initially just labeling this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can see how we also have the Fibonacci retracement zone. So wave 2, which actually started here at SPY 576 and actually bottom at SPY 481. This corrective wave 4, where is it bringing us? Let me only bring here the Fibonacci. Oh, 1 second. This is actually bringing us here. 1 minute, I'm sorry. It's bringing us to the 0.6 to 0.78 Fibonacci retracement, which is also known as the golden zone, right? So when we have an impulsive wave and we retest the 0.6, 0.7, that is like the final place to actually enter a position if we are still trending. So if we actually break the 0.78, right, it wouldn't look like this is a valid retracement under what could still be a corrective pattern. So on the 4-hour time frame, we have this zone here as what I would like to call critical confirmation into the next weeks. So SPY, the bears need to keep SPY below 550 or 500 to 555, 56 for round numbers. Breaking above this level would actually end up this downtrend. Rejection here could probably take us for a final 5th wave lower. So that final 5th wave lower here could bring us to the 200 moving average. So unfortunately, right now, we have very mixed signals. There's sometimes when the market is strongly signaling a bull case, strongly signaling a bear case. There's also times in which the market is mixed. And it is important to realize when the market is mixed and not try to force the charts into what we see, what we believe, what we would like to see develop. We have to trade what we see, and we have to follow the market. And even though sometimes we might be, we can be one step ahead from the market, and we can try to forecast and front run it. I do think it's in this market, at least this 2025 market under the trade wars, right? I do think it's important to view it as a day-by-day market. So what I would like to see for next week, or maybe for today, I'm not sure if it's going to happen on the remaining trading session for today, would be either a strong break or a strong rejection from 550. Personally, as a trader, this would be my confirmation level. My strategy would be, I would be bullish. Above 550, I would be risk off or even bearish. Below 550. So if we actually have a rejection, if we actually have a rejection here, I wouldn't be losing my mind trying to call a bottom or trying to catch a potential bottom. Because if the market goes for another leg lower to the 200 moving average, or if we just have a rejection here, a pullback, and we have a retest of support, which ends up being a higher low in the market, the difference between, under this analysis, the difference between a higher low and a lower low, it's not going to be the same. So as a bull, if maybe we have a rejection here and we're not going for a lower low, let's say we just retest resist support, I would be viewing a retest of the lows as a very good buying opportunity. When we actually view the other indices, let me show them on the weekly time frame. What do we view here? For the Dow Jones, we view the same scenario. So we can see all the indices are aligned and they're doing actually the same, which actually reinforce our chart. We're going to go a bit faster if we have a couple minutes left, but we can see on the Dow Jones here, DJI on the weekly time frame, 5-wave Elliott, 5-point correction. 5-wave impulsive Elliott, again, a correction. We're bouncing from the 0-point Fibonacci retracement from this bull market, and we are still surviving on our ascending structure, the same as the S&P 500. Almost reached the 200 moving average, not yet. Only, to be honest, the 200 moving average is the only thing that doesn't let me sleep, with confidence on a potential bullish recovery. I would have loved to see a retest of the 200 moving average. So far, we have not done it, but we can see how the Dow Jones is showing the similar scenario. If we actually see here the NASDAQ, for the NASDAQ, we have the same. We didn't retest the 200 moving average, but we have the same Elliott wave structure. For the NASDAQ, I do have a support trend line a bit more lower. I just have this label drawn in case we actually go there, but I don't think we're going to reach it now. So I do think the 200 moving average would be better here. We can also see the 200 moving average was a bottom for NASDAQ on 2022, also on COVID, right? And we are bouncing here from the 0.5 retracement. Other stocks, for example, such as Apple, already show bottoming patterns. Apple already did a 5-point correction. Apple is the only stock from the Max 7 which has actually bounced from and retested the 200-week moving average here. We also managed to, even though we broke below our ascending structure, we managed to turn that into a fake breakout, and Apple is currently looking like a bottom might be in for the stock. Other stocks on the Max 7 are looking a bit neutral. For example, I would say NVIDIA. NVIDIA is looking a bit mixed here. It does look like a 5-point correction, even though it's not that clear. Let me show it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what I don't personally like about NVIDIA right now, to be honest, is that we didn't even retest the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement. The 200 moving average is too far away. I'm not sure we're going to reach that level if we would be to continue the potential bear case. But for NVIDIA, to be honest, I would feel more secure about buying around the 80s, which would be the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement and also this potential, this low around here on that correction we saw for July. Other semiconductor stocks such as AMD do show potential bottoming signals. And I personally like this one. I actually invested into AMD at 84 here, and I would like to show this chart. So this is a very strong chart. And what's the strongest on this chart? I would say it's our support trend line, which has never been broken before. That doesn't mean it can never be broken and we're going to trend above this trend line up for eternity, but it's a great risk to reward ratio because we know if we break lower here, the stock is probably going to continue going low. So we can close for a small loss instead of just holding here when the technicals have been invalidated. So what do we see here? We are having a very strong bounce on this support trend line for AMD, which goes all the way back to 2018. This is 7 years of this support trend line holding, and it also marked the bottom here on 2022. I personally invested into AMD. I opened half position at around 84, 85. Thankfully, we're currently here on a nice profit. What I would also like to mention about AMD is that AMD, yes, we do have our corrective wave patterns as well as our impulsive waves, but AMD actually topped 1 year ago on March 2024. So while the market was doing higher high after higher high, NVIDIA, all the other semis, Broadcom, QCOM, they were all, well, I think QCOM not, but Broadcom, NVIDIA, they were all doing higher highs after higher highs. AMD was correcting, and we already did what looks like a completed 5-point correction here for AMD. So despite, yes, we are below the 200 moving average, I would say that this would be the buy zone. This would be a great buy zone for AMD. And the buy zone would be located at 80 to 95, which would be this range here. So some stocks are looking like we do have a very nice bottom forming here. Other stocks kind of not. Let me, for example, show you Netflix. And that is the reason why I do say the market is 50-50. When we see stocks such as Apple, such as AMD bottoming here for the S&P 500, we could, with more confidence, say yes, bottom in at SPX 4,800. But then we see other stocks such as Netflix. And what is Netflix doing? Netflix is just finishing what looks like a 5-wave completed Elliott wave count. So we have our first wave, we have our third wave, and we have what is so far our 5th wave. So applying Fibonacci retracements here, these are the only places where we can, without invalidating Elliott wave counts, this is the only places where we could actually correct, because only this pullback reached the 0.2 Fibonacci retracement. And this one, I would like to show one thing as well here. Initially, I thought this was wave 3 and this was wave 5 because of the indicator here. RSI was bullish here, right? So I spotted here this bearish divergence and I went, this is wave 3 high, this is wave 5 high, because we have the bearish divergence. But my mistake here was that we didn't reach the 0.23. So this is not a valid retracement under Elliott wave. Then after earnings, we had this move. So this is a valid retracement. All right. So despite this is not the top here, on the RSI, we still notice that bearish divergence, right? Remember how we noticed that for the NASDAQ, for the S&P 500, and then those indices proof that indicator was trustable because we saw that correction. What do we see here? We're seeing the indicators bearish divergence. Check, this is very important for Netflix, all right? This is very important before we go long at ultimate macro resistance for the stock, right? We see here on December 2024, Netflix 950, bearish divergence. Check the top here on, let me zoom in so we can view it better, right? Then on February 2025, Netflix 1070. But the RSI started giving us this bearish divergence. And now, after earnings, we have Netflix at 1,100. But the bearish divergence, it's even stronger here on the RSI. So what I would be understanding is that this could be a potential top. This could be a potential top for a stock such as Netflix. Also, we do have here this support trend, this resistance trend line, that has been validated for 5 years. Here we are not calling this a top, but still we are seeing some, reaction, right? This was a top here, this was a top here as well. Here, not a top, but we did saw rejection, so at least it's revalidating it, right? So for Netflix, I do remain bearish here. So that is the reason why I do think the market is kind of 50-50, right? Some stocks are reinforcing the scenario in which the S&P 500 bottom at 4,800, right? But other stocks, I mean, how could the market have bottom if other stocks such as Netflix are just about to top. That doesn't mean that the market cannot bottom and Netflix doesn't have to follow the market as well, but there are some potential stocks that have not even corrected. So given the fact that we are under a correction, NASDAQ, I think it dropped somewhere around 25. The S&P 500 reached minus 20 on a pre-market, right? Other stocks, Spotify, not corrected yet. Palantir here looks like a stage 3 week of distribution. Stage 1 accumulation, stage 2 markup, stage 3 week of distribution. And to be honest, just from a technical perspective, does look like Palantir might be ready for a stage 4 breakdown. We were about to do so, but the stock managed to save here. So that is the reason I do think the market right now, unfortunately, and I say it unfortunately because we would love to have more conviction here. It's 50, I would say it's kind of 50-50 right now. It's not that clear. There are some very strong bullish signals, as well as there are some other strong bearish. There are some very strong bullish signals, as well as we also have some strong bearish signals as well. And now I do think we have more time. Sorry, I don't know if this is a 30-minute segment or if it's going to be a 1 hour. Spotify earnings are next week, as on the comment section, James Higgins mentioned. So that is very important because, let me go back 1 second to Spotify. On earnings from Spotify next week, we could see that final push, which could bring us that final 5th wave higher for Spotify, and then I would be looking for a correction. I mean, stocks have to correct, right? We're not in, stocks don't go up on a single line forever. Spotify bottom at 70. We hit 665. That's almost a 10x for the stock. I personally like Spotify. I love Spotify. I use it all the day. I'm bullish on Spotify long term. I do think it's a company that's going to benefit a lot from the upcoming years, decades, right? I'm very bullish long term on the stock. Please don't get me wrong, but from the technical perspective, stock does look ready to correct. Keeping in mind that Max 7, many stocks are correcting, I do think Spotify is close for a correction. Now let's see some other Max 7 stocks. Other Max 7 stocks are not that clear. I have initially showed the ones I do think are the strongest charts. We have a similar scenario, for example, for Microsoft. For Microsoft, it's not that clear, to be honest. Let me show it here. But we can see how the market seems to be synced here. We have here the 5-point Elliott wave. Then we have the WXYZ correction. Then again, we had our 5-point impulsive wave. And there is where it started. So my doubts here with Microsoft is if we should start counting this correction here on February or on July. All right. On July, it could be if we could see this as a potential ABC correction. I don't like that we didn't hit the 200 weekly moving average as well, but I would kind of view this. I would prefer counting stage 4 breakdown here and viewing this as a stage 3 week of distribution. Let me zoom out 1 second and show this for Microsoft. All right. If we apply week of accumulation and distribution techniques, accumulation here, accumulation where at the 200 moving average, successfully retested twice. And it was actually a double bottom. I don't have it drawn, but we can view it here, right? 200 moving average, we bounce, 200 moving average again, we bounce again, and we did the double bottom. Let me see on 2020. No, 2020, no 200 moving average. That's important to notice as well. All right, now we were very close, but we actually didn't retest it. So we have week off accumulation phase, we have week off markup phase, stage 2, we have week of stage 3 distribution, and this is a week of stage 4 distribution. So to be honest, when I view the Microsoft chart here like this, I would be surprised if this was the bottom. I'm open to it for Microsoft specifically, because this doesn't seem like a stage 4 breakdown. I would understand Microsoft could potentially hit the 200 moving average or even the 0.6 Fibonacci retracement from all this bull market. But so far, we are finding a bounce. And if the market has bottom, yes, that could be a potential confirmation that we're not hitting the 200 moving average. For Microsoft as well, I don't like the volume. Compare here the volume for Microsoft. Yes, I do know we got a spike here, but it is not as strong as, for example, Apple, right? So Microsoft, I would say it's a bit mixed. Nvidia, we already saw it. For Tesla, what do we have for Tesla here? Tesla is the only.
Paulo, obviously the market is crazy right now. We're about short on time. We got just a minute left. Your coverage has been awesome so far.
Thank you. Yes. All right. So, well, I think if we only have a couple minutes, that will be all for Tesla. Maybe for next Friday, we can resume here with this Max 7. And yes, so here as an overall conclusion, how I would view the market is a bottom can be in or maybe not. You might think, yes, that doesn't help, right? We need more answers, but we cannot know them. And we cannot also not lose our minds if this is a bottom, trying to catch the bottom, trying to sell the top. I rather view buy zones and sell zones as ranges, right? We can buy in this range, we can sell in this range. If that was a bottom or the perfect bottom, the perfect top, that doesn't matter. In the end, when we zoom out, missing a couple dollars per share, the same. So if this was a bottom, and this is my final conclusion, if this was a bottom, no, I am not looking for a V-shaped recovery, explosive, and nothing happened. So I'm not looking something like that. What I would be looking would be something more like this. So there will be plenty buying opportunities. And even if this would be to develop, I wouldn't rule out a reaches of support. So overall conclusion on this is, if this is a bottom or not, the next pullback is a buying opportunity. The next pullback would be a great buying opportunity, even if it is a higher low and we bounce here, or even if it's a lower low and we retest the 200 weekly moving average. Under my analysis, I hope this was helpful for everyone in the chat, everyone viewing this live stream. I would call the next pullback a very good buying opportunity. So let's try to catch it somewhere around this range. It could be here. It could be here as a higher low. It could be at the 200 moving average. Somewhere in here. I would say if we retest the 4,800s to 5,100s, that would be a great buying opportunity. And I hope we are all able to catch some important trades, some important swing trades, to load up on some investments. I personally wanted to load up on AMD. I didn't have the stock. That one was my first pick, and now I'm ready to buy some other stocks on the next buying opportunity. So that will be all for today. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, your attendance. Thank you, Benzinga, Ryan. Thanks to everyone on the chat as well. And looking forward for next Friday. This one, as this was my first one, we haven't took any trades yet. We have only started with technical analysis here, but we are looking forward to do some live trading as well. So that will be all for today, and thank you, everyone.